breaks the law.
I am informed that there is a verbal notice to disrupt public order and endanger lives by paying young men and women who have no jobs. They are going to pay them to go and cause mayhem and anarchy. I am ready for you. We are ready for you. Not just in Nairobi, in all the 47 counties of the Republic of Kenya, we are ready. And because I have seen some of you think we are kidding, try looting, you will live to regret for a very, very long time.
For the Wednesday demos last week, various leaders accused Azimio leader Raila Odinga and former President Uhuru Kenyatta of violence, with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua insisting that it is time to stop Raila and his protest. Meanwhile, Azimio leaders have vowed to continue with the planned protest this week despite being warned by the government. Speaking in Navajo constituency, Kakamega County, Eugene Wamalwa has said that they have been threatened that they will be arrested for leading the protest last week.
Though we may walk in the shadow of death this coming week, we will not fear, because the Lord is our shepherd. And that word Bishop has really encouraged me, because there are threats out there. Some of us, particularly the Azimio principals, have received threats directly. There are threats of us being arrested, threats of some of us being assassinated, and there are meetings that have taken place in different places, including State House, and there are utterances that have been made openly by none other than Dr. Ruto himself, his Minister of Interior, Professor Kindiki, and his Deputy Gachagua, where they have sworn that there will be no more demonstrations in Kenya.
He has however vowed that the protests will continue until the government repeals the controversial Finance Act of 2023.
Our position as Azimio is that what they are saying is tantamount to suspending the Constitution. Article 37 of our Constitution guarantees every Kenyan the right to protest, to picket. That right is not a favor that can be given to us or taken away by William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza people. And this coming week, we want to encourage Kenyans to come out to protest against the high cost of living, because this government has the powers to actually repeal that Finance Act. So we will not retreat. We will come out. We will not fear. Listen and withdraw or repeal that act. And there will be no demonstrations. We are not mad people. We don't want nusu mkate. We don't want a share of this government.
This as SCK Bishop Mumias Joseph Wandera asked President Ruto to embrace national dialogue and urged him to discard the Finance Act.
Members of the opposition are not illegitimate children. They are legitimate children of this country that we call Kenya. And they are not people who have suddenly gone mad. They do have legitimate grievances. What grievances do they have? You're talking about IEBC and its constitution, which we have spoken to. We are speaking about issues of the economy, and in particular, the much contested 2023 finance bill. We are talking about inclusion in matters of state. And these are not light issues. These are weighty issues.
And Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu says the government will start this week to pay dues owed to the Kenyan National Examination Council examiners in the 2022 exams. We continue to follow up on this developing story. More in an hour. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. You know, that's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person, or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege. Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
And Monday promises to look good from everywhere we're looking at it right about now. Where are you this morning? Have you already left? You'll be on streets that are not serving up too much in terms of traffic. It's looking good coming off Uhuru Highway, getting into the city from Mombasa Road. At least for now, you're all right. Not to forget, we're coming to the end of some construction that was taking place, so roads should be free and clear now, at least in an outbound fashion. Coming off Thika Superhighway, just a little bit of traffic is starting to build up as you get towards the Pangani underpass. That is likely to build up later on in the day. Kangunda Road is looking busy, so is Juja Road, as is Manyanja Road. Everybody touching on Outer Ring as you're trying to get in and out of the city. Again, where are you this morning? Let us know. Let's keep things moving this Monday. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Monday. Welcome to the 17th day of July, 2023. How was your weekend? We hope you had a good one. I think Ndu did. True?
Let me tell you.
Tell me.
Let me tell you a story.
So, yes, I did. So I got a lot of work done on Saturday. Very, very happy. Finished a final chapter that has been killing me.
Congratulations.
Then yesterday, I sat down to watch the men's single finals at Wimbledon, where world number one Alcaraz did a number on wannabe world number one Djokovic. It was beautiful to watch, man. 20-year-old beat this man beautifully. It was nice. It was good. And Alcaraz, world number one, Wimbledon champion.
And Djokovic is how old?
Djokovic is 36. Alcaraz is 20. However, Djokovic he is doing some beautiful tennis right now. But Alcaraz came in and beat him, stamping his authority as world number one. At 20 years old, he's doing fantastic. Just turned 20, actually, 2 months ago.
And he's already at the top.
My God.
Good age, that one.
The tennis he played yesterday was amazing. Amazing.
20 years of age.
Yep.
The cares of this world and these things that bog you down in your 30s.
I haven't started to do like that.
Zero.
He's done to Djokovic what Djokovic did to Nadal and Federer maybe 5-6 years ago.
Everyone gets their turn.
Yeah.
It's his moment.
Yes.
It's his moment. And it's a good thing that, there's somebody else who is emerging, and it's clear.
Indeed.
The line of succession is
and
clear.
who's saying, okay, I've got your number. Let's give you another 5 years.
Yeah.
Let's see how that works out.
It was good. So that was what I was doing yesterday, and the weekend. So it was okay.
That's good. And you, City? How was yours?
Quiet.
Yeah.
I woke up at the time I usually wake up.
Today or on Sunday?
No, every day I wake up at the same time. It's just what I do thereafter. Hanged out a bit. Went back to sleep. Then woke up again.
Then you hanged out a bit.
No, this time I had to go for a meeting. There was a man enough meeting in my church, and I had been asked to be a plenary speaker on an interesting topic. It's called finishing well. So I went, and they were specific. They told me, when you come, this is what we want you to speak about. Essentially, I was being told, Nani, don't go and meander on the topic which you want.
Yeah.
Don't go and start opening your mouth.
This is your topic.
This is your topic. Keep to it, and don't tell us things we would. This. So that's what I went for, and then went back home and proceeded to sleep.
Very good.
How are you, sir, Eric?
I'm good. Mine was easy. Just relaxed indoors. Have a lot of things to do, but I was like, you know what? Maisha no maya. Like, what is this?
There's always a lot to do.
And then you just end up not doing.
That usually is it. And then you castigate yourself and you feel bad about it. Then you feel good that you felt bad about it. Then at least you've achieved something. And then you look forward to a new day where you can start the process all over again.
Okay. That's a good thing. Ednah has a song on her mind this morning. Lord, I thank you for sunshine. Thank you for rain. Thank you for joy. Thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. What song is that?
Thank you for giving me this morning.
Don't fuss and fight. Let us unite. We've got one life, so let's make it right.
That sounds like a reggae song.
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day.
By Jermaine Edwards.
Who is Jermaine Edwards?
Looks like a cartoon, that one.
Oh, it's an ad.
Is it the one, really? Is that the song that Ednah has in her mind, really? No, it's not that one.
Okay.
Is it?
It's the one. It's the one.
It's the one.
Lord, I thank you for sunshine.
Yes, that's the one.
Sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for
Connect
joy,
this.
thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day.
It's a reggae song.
Told you it was a reggae song. The moment sunshine came into it.
Bas. Original song by Jermaine Edwards. Now look for the Jermaine Edwards song. Wachana na haya mengine machache. Kwa haya mengine machache.
Atusikie sasa hiyo song.
Imeisha. Ati anasoma tutafute kesho. Beautiful day, yeah. We thank you for sunshine. Thank you for rain and for joy and the other things that you've given to Ednah.
Ednah, welcome to Monday.
Karibu sana. So today we're going to have the following conversations. At 8 a.m. we'll be joined by the chairman of the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, IGRTC. This is the one that is supposed to be the one coordinating between the ones of the national government and the one of the counties, okay? So there's a technical committee there. It's different from the Council of Governors. Kethenji Kirago is the chairman. He'll be joining us at 8 a.m. He'll come and tell us what IGRTC does, but also we'll be focusing on 10 years of devolution. 2013 to 2023, we've had devolution in the country. Has it delivered the promise? At 9 a.m., let's talk about the demonstrations that Azimio has called for this week now. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
1, 2, 3.
Where? The Secretary of Political Affairs and member of Azimio Technical Committee, Frederick Okango, joins us at 9 a.m. Is the message behind demonstrations hitting home? Is there a message behind demonstrations? And if yes, is it hitting home?
What is it?
Yeah. That's the conversation we'll be having then. So keep it here for that. We are live streaming the show, aren't we, Ednah? It's a beautiful day. Yay. So 17 after 6. If you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from, and then we will do like that shortly after Ndu tells us about the weather.
Cloudy conditions at 12 in Nairobi, highs of 23 and lows of 11. 11 will also be the low in a mostly clear Nakuru, going to highs of 26. 21 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Nyeri at 12, and at 11 it's clear in Eldoret, highs of 24. 23 and cloudy in Mombasa, highs of 28, and we'll also see highs of 28 in a cloudy Malindi at 25. It's 18 and clear in Kisumu, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 28 in a partly cloudy Kakamega at 15. Mostly clear conditions at 16 in Kampala, highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam is mostly cloudy at 23 with highs of 29 and lows of 22. It's 8 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 20 and lows of 8, and at 26 Lagos is partly cloudy, highs of 30 and lows of 25. Kinshasa is cloudy at 23, highs of 33 and lows of 20. Monday afternoon in Beijing is sunny at 31, highs of 35 and lows of 24. It's mostly cloudy at 14 in Paris, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 22 in a mostly cloudy London at 44. Sunday night is clear in New York at 24, highs of 26 and lows of 22.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
People are online. I saw Alex, and the computer decided that this morning it's going to do the thing where it's, waking up very slowly. It must be Monday in computer
doing its
land.
things.
Yeah, it's Monday in computer land. I can see you guys. I know you're there.
It's Monday.
The computer is Monday.
Oh my goodness.
Unaona sasa. La 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 la.
What's happening?
I don't know.
It's doing like that? Oh my goodness. Oh no. You can't do that to us. Not on such a Monday morning. It's a beautiful yay. Surely. Anyway, Mukas, you'll do like that. You'll tell us.
I will.
Everybody who's online, please tell us where you're tuned in from.
Okay,
and
there
we will
they
do
are.
Like that. Okay, you can see
Let's
now
see if we
on
can
YouTube.
find them. Ednah has done some magic. Getting you louder and clearer from Doha. Excuse me. That's Kivon Nayo says good morning. Linda Agola says good morning. Isaac Moai tuned in, wishing you a fantastic week ahead. Greetings from Doha in Qatar. Keep spreading the good vibes and rocking the airwaves. Asante Sana. Good morning, guys. Ndu, I have your friend here from Port Harcourt. This is Alex Omogi from Doha. Okay.
What are you doing with her friend?
What are you doing with my friend, and what's his or her name? Dismas Obaya.
How much do you want? What are your demands?
State your intentions. Dismas Ombuya says good morning. Looking forward to a great learning experience. Have a good and blessed week. You too. Dennis is tuned in from Doha. Good morning. +44 locked. That's in the UK. Good morning to you. Stephen Mutumba says hello. Leonie Prof Hapo Sawa. Okay. I am in Witevie Technology Park. Good morning. Jeremiah Mutai. CT.
Yes.
I'm glad to know I've tickled your fancy.
It's called Wetavia.
Witevie.
Wetavia. Wetavia means help yourself.
Okay. How would you like? Let's say it one more time for your listening.
No, you've anglicized it well.
Say it one more time for your listening pleasure.
White idea.
Yeah, Wetavia means help yourself.
Help yourself. All right. Louis Angira says, good morning, locked. Kama Kawaida. Top of the morning team, Wood Sweater is tuned in from Kisumu Korando. Good morning from Roiro. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wangwana. Listening en route to Dubai from Abu Dhabi. This is another short week in UAE. Friday being Islamic New Year. That's true. Breakfast today is erongori, yobori. Hey, what are those? Ednah, please help our lives. This is Gladys Waithaka, and she's talking about some things that I've never heard before. Paul Wanjo, he says, good morning, tuned in from, it's 4 a.m. in Stockport in the UK. Yes, good morning, man. Frederick Omondi says he's tuned in from Kisumu. Njao Wajiko, tuned in, good morning. Africana tuned in this morning from Doha, and he says Wimbledon was lit. Indeed, it was. Joe Mungai is listening from Bonnie Lake in Washington State. And Mr. Maloba is tuned in this morning as well. Tuned in from Kisumu. Have a beautiful day. Today is my birthday. Rogers Williams, happy birthday to you, Rogers. Yeah. Chris Moura says good morning. Everybody just jumped on this morning. Jacob, hello. Black Diamond, tuned in from Muthiga. Patrick Muga, tuned in from Siokimau. Desmond is tuned in as well. Aaron, Patrick Odur, Jamal Ayub. We see you, Gilbert. And David Masse. Everybody tuned in this morning. Karibuni sana.
Welcome, everybody. City, where to this week?
By popular demand, when Guinea.
Guinea.
You remember last week, you said, we've never. So I said, okay.
Come and even is out.
Come and have you. Guinea, here we come. And Guinea, here we are.
Okay.
Yes, I'll be telling you a lot about this country. An interesting country.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very interesting country. The shape of it, the countries it borders, the water body it borders. Okay, but this morning let's talk about the Proverbs. A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies.
A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies. It's not fair.
It's not fair that it doesn't have a tail.
I think they can.
It's just not being
try,
told.
it just won't work.
It should not try, surely.
It shouldn't try. It can.
Let it try now.
Let it try.
I mean, surely, what harm will it do? Just try.
Just say it may not
fail
succeed,
miserably,
but just say. Why are you telling it not to try?
Always
you need to
try.
wag something. For you to wag it, it needs to exist.
In order to wag something, it must exist. Yes. C'est vrai.
Hiya. Let's look at the headlines.
On the front page of The Nation, let's start on the Standard. Kenyans brace for tough protest week. Azimio has declared it will hold demonstrations from Wednesday to Friday this week as Kenyans push for a lowering of the cost of living. But the move comes at a cost. Businesses will be paralyzed in many parts of the country. It's interesting because just below that headline is a picture and it's captioned, "It's time for Africa." The AU summit took place in Nairobi yesterday. President William Ruto there with the Comoro President Azali Assoumani, who happens to be the chair of the African Union, and then, of course, the president of the Africa Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, at the sidelines of the AU summit yesterday, and talking about it's time for Africa. It's interesting because I see this dichotomy of personalities. When I hear William Ruto talking about the need for Africa to come together, I love the words that are coming from his mouth. So, I mean, it would be nice to see what happens in the future as concerns coming together for Africa. Mudavadi puts a tight leash on parastatal bosses. Okay. Professional bodies to keep off vetting of varsity courses. Why? All right.
Professional bodies to do what?
To keep off vetting of varsity courses. Remember we had a conversation and we said, it might actually make sense if the professional bodies through which your practice is established after you've gone through school have a say in terms of what you should actually study. Maybe it would make sense. But for some reason, they've seen that, it doesn't.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. There should be just one body.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Daily Nation today is talking about a drinking nation inside Kenya's big alcohol problem. 27,042,214 is the population age between 15 and 65 who consume alcohol. 48.6% of the total population, and that's been broken down into some numbers that we can look at. And DP Gashagwa says, if we don't act now, a whole generation will be wiped out, and says it is a crisis. This week of protests, will Ruto-Raila strike a deal? That's the question. Azimio Chief Raila Odinga and President William Ruto have stood their ground, with the former insisting the protests were within Kenyan's constitutional rights, while the head of state has warned that his administration will not condone any such demos. The result of the 3-day protest could, however, spell doom for the country, but there's still time to avert looming turmoil. All right. Ruto uses African Union meeting to push for reforms. We saw that happening yesterday, talking about turning Africa into an investment hub, and he's asking for some of those things to actually go into place. On the back page, some sports there, but more or less that's what we have.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So today's back page of the Nation is sports.
Yes, it's talking about...
What's that story?
It's talking about Dagoretti School, for example, giving needy girls a golden chance to dare to dream big.
That's very
and
nice.
Playing football is an opportunity for this dream to come alive. I love it. I mean, sports has always been used as an avenue for a number of things, development, peace, etc. And here have an opportunity for girls specifically to come out and play football and bring out a talent which nobody would have probably seen that they have had it not been for this.
Okay. So, Business Daily. On the side, today they have like two main headlines. One, Kenya's most expensive power plants revealed. Muhoroni gas turbine. You know that one, City? Muhoroni gas turbine.
Where is it?
In Muhoroni.
It's Muhoroni gas turbine. I don't think it's in
Abu Dhabi.
The way it was a rhetorical question.
You're trying to
figure out where it is. Because
so Muhoroni gas turbine supplies the costliest electricity to the national grid at 56.73 shillings for every unit. 56 bob per unit, according to an official report that lifts the lead on expensive power deals that have been passed to consumers in the form of high bills. A detailed analysis by the Business Daily of official data tabled in Parliament last week shows that Muhoroni turbine's price is more than double that of the second most expensive generator, Iberafrica Power, which sells a unit to Kenya Power for 28 shillings and 24 cents. Then Rabai Power comes third at 24 shillings and 4 a unit. Yeah.
So if they sell it at that amount, I'm assuming the reason why we're discussing it is because we actually buy it at that amount.
Yeah.
And who owns it and why do we buy it at that amount?
It goes to Kenya Power at that amount. Now, those are the details that this story has not gone into the detail of telling us what does a Muhoroni gas turbine use to generate power, but most of them are thermal generators, and why it's that expensive. So it basically says that around March, these thermal generators became the second largest contributor to the grid, after, of course, geothermal, and they surpassed wind and hydro. So this was tabled in Parliament last week. The other headline, economy slides into dangerous territory. For a country dangerously addicted to debt as it battles unrelenting inflation, daily weakening of the shilling, tax shortfalls and rising interest rates, the fresh wave of political unrest could push Kenya's economy to the edge, according to economists. While East Africa's biggest economy reversed 7 straight back-to-back quarterly growth declines to post 5.3% growth in the first quarter of the year, the economists are cautioning policymakers. So what has happened? Non-performing loans have hit a 16-year high of 14.9% in our banks. The Nairobi Securities Exchange has shed 26%, that is 653 billion shillings in 6 months. Inflation has stayed above the 7.5% CBK target for 13 straight months. So, these things are not looking good at all. At all. And so they're saying, my goodness, the way we are, mahali tunaenda ni kubaya, and we're not helping ourselves with the political unrest. Car dealers protest increase of import duty to 35%. The importers have protested the decision to increase import duty to that percentage on motor vehicles, saying the new rates will be implemented without public participation. And then there's a story about e-commerce firm Jumia Kenya disclosing that its employee stole about 21 million shillings by manipulating vendor payment records, pointing to the risk of fraud facing the platform. The firm, which has been posting losses in the Kenyan market, says in the latest disclosures to US regulators that it discovered the fraud in September last year. A guy went there and said, you know what, there's this vendor who's been making, this making sales, blah, 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 blah. 21 million, Bob. Inside joke. Call an inside joke. Inside job. IFC to guide Kenya's bank loan pricing reforms. The IFC has announced a technical assistance program for the central bank and local banks to strengthen the recently introduced risk-based pricing mechanism for customer loans. In his story, we are just going to be charged 25% by these banks. They are thugs. City.
Yes, please.
What's on the Star and the East African?
Well, let's deal with the Star first before we get to the East African. We'll talk about tomorrow.
Okay.
Top right-hand corner, until green, anti-government demos, drums of war as Ruto Raila allies brace for fresh confrontations. We, the media, and our headlines, God Almighty. Drums of war. There's a picture of a gentleman with a placard. Reads, when the rich rob the poor, it's called business. When the poor fight back, it's called violence.
When the rich rob the poor, it's called business.
When the poor fight back, it is called violence. All right? Now, there's a story, sad story, of a lovely lady, one of our very own, who passed away.
Yeah.
It's last Friday, Elizabeth Merab. I think you all know who she is, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, she covered the health agenda with a passion. Yeah, worked for the nation. Yes. And she was unwell, admitted to Aga Khan Hospital for 15 a.m. on Saturday. And she was 8:31 and she was a sickler.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
A sickler is somebody with sickle cell.
Yes.
Anemia.
Yes.
Okay.
Fare thee well, sister.
Yeah.
Shabab in a new recruitment drive to boost numbers. Kwani. Even these guys have a rally.
Even they do.
Huh?
Collecting signatures. Sorry.
Yeah, something of that sort.
So how are they doing it? You'll tell
criteria?
us. You'll tell us that.
I will. Then in the middle, there's this story, and there's the allegation that the ex-president's office is funding the Azimio rallies, protest. This is Uhuru linked to Azimio 40 million Azimio protest budget. How do they know it's 40 million? I mean, okay, 40, why is it not 80? Why is it not even 100? Ruto accuses Kenyatta and Raila of sabotaging his government using demos.
Oh, yeah.
He has every right to think so. Ruto says agenda 2063 to deliver a prosperous Africa. Okay.
All right, let's take that break then. 25 to 7, Kenya's biggest conversation. Where, my friend? So, episode 2 of Faithless came out.
Yes, it did.
Have you watched 1 or 2?
I watched 1.
You watched 1?
Yes.
I also watched 1.
And?
I was sad for those guys. The ambulance drivers. So this ambulance crew, within the first 2 minutes, they've been killed. Now, surely this is a season of 10 episodes. You've been killed in the first 2 minutes.
Your job, though. Your job was to drive the ambulance.
Surely.
You were written into the script. This is your purpose at that point.
God.
The thing that I found interesting was the filming. Whatever gun they were using, when you're shot, you fly.
Yes, no. Like a bazooka.
Yes, you sort of like take
Elevate.
off and then
Land.
you're propelled backwards and then you land.
So that you're fully dead. You watch The Princess Bride.
And then you don't die.
Not half dead.
And then you get up. You're like, the vest helped.
Thank God for that.
So yeah, Faithless on Showmax. Please watch it. There's a very new Showmax original that is on www.showmax.com. Subscribe.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Folks on the Thika Superhighway are not joking. They said today we must go to work, all of us. Quickly, boom, boom. Everybody together is now out on the roads. It's heavy as you're coming in from Tusker Village, out past the Garden City Mall, even way beyond that, before that rather. There's traffic coming in all the way from Zimmerman, and we're looking as far as Clayworks. Traffic is heavy then coming in through to the city centre, and you're going to get through towards the Pangani underpass where it'll just clog up. You can use the service lanes, shorten the experience and all that good stuff, but then you'll get to the Pangani underpass and you're going to have to wait for that traffic to open up as you get towards Muranga Road. All right, that's what's happening there. On Outer Ring, there's traffic that's also building up. Some of the folks that are frustrated with the slow movement on the Thika Superhighway coming off onto Outer Ring, and we see that happening already. Jogo Road is busy. As you get towards Landis, you'll be fine though, and then getting on towards Kamkunji. But Jogo Road is where you see the heaviest of it right about now. Are you on Uhuru Highway? Then you shouldn't have a problem as you get towards Haile Selassie at the junction, but then it'll clog up just a little bit as you're trying to get into the city. Out towards Westlands, not too bad. Coming into the city from Westlands, however, it's a totally different story. There's traffic on Waiyaki Way. There's traffic building up on James Gishoro. We'll keep an eye on things as we get closer to 7. Talk to us on Spice FM, KE, on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The deputy president, it's not the first time that he's mentioned this. He says the issue of alcoholism in the Mount Kenya region has become an emotive one as much as land, with political community and religious leaders calling for it to be declared a regional disaster. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has since adopted the issue as his pet subject, saying he's ready to risk his political ambitions by confronting the alcohol cartels. He spoke in Nyeri County Saturday. He says, if ensuring that we get rid of the merchants of death who pose as liquor dealers in this region causes me to lose popularity, so be it. I cannot be a bystander when killer brews continue to wreak havoc on our productive population. He urged all Mount Kenya leaders to get involved in the fight, telling them that if the youth drown in alcoholism, you will not have the numbers to vote in your future power struggle. The fight is not new. Kenya Cultural Center Board Chairman Kungu Mugai said former President Uhuru Kenyatta had launched the war against killer brews in 2015, but abandoned it when the cartels fought back. He said this region had a drinking problem. He mobilized the region's politicians to lead a united crackdown on the business of death, but the war was abandoned. And just like Mr. Kenyatta's, the DP's current drive is facing a lot of headwinds as the cartels fight back. The National Agency for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse, NACADA Pioneer Chairman Joseph Kaguthi, said a 2021 research in Mount Kenya region indicated that children as young as 12 were getting addicted to alcohol. He said the crisis and action plan towards a sober central region showed that alcohol, bang, cat, and tobacco were the most widely abused poisons, with the youngest being 12 years old and the oldest being 86. He said that the liquor and narcotics industries were known to be well-funded, and where money does not buy impunity, brute force is used. Hence Mr. Gashagua's noble cause in facing an uphill battle, and he's optimistic of success. So there's a lot going on here, and they're saying, look, if we don't deal with it now, you'll have populations that die. Not populations that are just addicted, but populations that die as a result of drug and alcohol abuse, and it's a problem.
It's a big thing. And if you look at that story and the way the nation have given, prominence to this particular story, they're also pointing to the fact that if you look at just look at what they said. For a country whose vast population is protesting over high cost of living, the price of basic food commodities is going through the roof. The rate at which alcohol is consumed by millions is telling a different story, one of despair and depression. And that tells you that's it. There's a lot of, that despair, depression, the young people getting out there and just feeling completely
disenfranchised.
Yep, disenfranchised. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. And so they just end up in consuming alcohol. And this takes us into a huge area. If you look at the kind of percentages of people who are just kunying different things, 7% traditional liquor, 5.4% changa, 4.1% portable spirits. It's an issue that, if you look at the root cause of it, it is our mental health situation.
It is.
And giving people hope, and actual tangible hope. And a government that is not giving people tangible hope, then it's just leading more and more people towards substance abuse.
It is. And it may sound like a crutch, but the truth of the matter is that folks tell you know what, if I have a drink or two, maybe for some 12 or 13 hours, I'm able to forget whatever this is, and I'll be in some alternate existence. And then when I come back, we see how we can deal. But you know what? When you come back off the high, you're met with the reality. And so what do? You drink again.
Look for your way back into that.
Yes, and again, and again, and again.
But some of these substances also, beyond just being alcoholic, they seem to be addictive.
They are.
There seems to be something about this that is actually, let me use the term, not really fit for human consumption. Because if you look at the harm that some of these, specifically spirits that are drunk, it's not normal for somebody to have a drink and be drunk for close to a week. It's not. No. Why is it that alcohol, yes, it gets into your bloodstream, but
doesn't leave?
Yes. What is it about it?
Yeah, you don't pass it out.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, we think of the extreme cases where people lost their sight when drinking. We think of extreme cases where some people actually died while drinking. So you have to ask, okay, what exactly were they drinking? And what exactly caused this death? Now, when it's cheap, yes, the intoxicating feature, the intoxicating aspect and ability that this drink has may be alluring to some because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
But the damage is beyond anything that we can compare. I mean, a lot of discussion has been had and research has been done even by NACADA about this, but I haven't come across anything or any research findings about the content of some of these alcoholic beverages that are sold and consumed by people. You know, people derogatively talk about any adulterated stuff as coming from Kariobangi Light Industries. But I suspect that term and what it represents is replicated in very many other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Yes. But it is a problem.
It's just people just creating what they think is a brew, but they end up not doing a brew.
Oh, what they end up with is something extremely poisonous.
Yeah, and it's a big thing that needs to be addressed. A huge one. Okay, I want to look at that story that you talked about, professional bodies to keep off vetting.
Yeah.
So the professional bodies in the country will be stripped of the power to accredit degree programs in universities if proposals by the Presidential Working Party on Education reforms are adopted. Under the proposed reforms, the laws granting professional bodies power to accredit university courses along their profession will be revoked, and that mandate given to the Commission for University Education. The Commission and not any professional institution could approve, sanction or withdraw accreditation granted academic programs in the nation's universities. They want to amend the Universities Act to provide that no professional body shall charge any university fee for accreditation of academic programs. There are 27 professional bodies and associations that operate in the country, and they regulate the training and conduct of their members. In effect, the professional bodies, including the Engineers Board of Kenya, the Council for Legal Education, will have no role in what is taught in universities, and if adopted, this change will settle an age-old battle between the Commission for University Education and these professional bodies that accredit various. You know, I've always wondered, why do we need to have a Commission for University Education, and then somebody else comes and says, all right, so you are providing an engineering course, the Engineers Board of Kenya is the one that's going to give you accreditation for that course. Remember the debacle that we had with the Technical University of Kenya when it was still giving degree programs for University of Nairobi. And the Engineers Board said at the end of training that they do not recognize the degrees that were coming out of Kenya Poly. Basically.
Yeah, because there were some courses that were necessary.
We had not sanctioned this, and you're not giving them. And it's also the same issue has been there for a long time between the Commission for, no, not the Commission, but the Council of Legal Education, the Kenya School of Law, and the Commission for University Education. So people are studying law at various universities. The Council of Legal Education is accrediting those. And then they go to the Kenya School of Law, and the Council of Legal Education is still following them up there. And the School of Law is saying, no, this is our mandate now. And there have been issues on that.
You know, why is it that in a time gone by, these bodies seem to have worked seamlessly and in harmony? And why are we having strife now? What is actually happening? Because these very people who are members of these associations were trained by these very universities.
Yeah, they went to the same universities.
Okay. Remember there was this hoo-ha we had at Moi University where an entire faculty was scrapped.
Yep.
For some reason or the other, didn't meet this criteria or the other criteria. I would assume, therefore, that if they were guiding these processes, that such an eventuality would have been avoided. But clearly it wasn't. So what went wrong there?
Is there elements of control here that perhaps you don't see? That there's somebody at some level who wants to make sure that they have a say in how these things are done?
It's called a power struggle.
Yeah, that's what I see happening here.
And the unfortunate bit here is, so it's the students who go through this.
They're the one caught.
In 2011, the Engineers Registration Board declined to recognize engineering degrees from Egerton, Kenyatta, and Masinde Muliro universities.
Yes, but so were
the
they
Council
not?
of Legal Education did the same thing with Moi University and decided the entire faculty of law, forget it.
But you'll find that it's not necessarily because these individuals who come through this course are underqualified, but because they as a body did not have a say in the very beginning. And so rather than acquiesce to them coming into the profession, you say, well, we were never involved, so...
But the onus is on them to justify why they should be involved in an earlier process. I mean, what is this thing that they're going to add to the training? They were trained through these same institutions. So what has changed over time that now requires them to be involved in matters that they previously were not involved in?
What has changed?
Yes.
The penchant for control has increased significantly.
Control what?
You know, they charge, to accredit a university and a course, they charge a fee. Now,
and it's a pretty penny.
The Commission for University Education is the one that grants charters to universities.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And by the time they're granting you a charter, these are the courses that you'll be offering, and this is what you offer. Now, you can see the sense of the various professions saying, if you're offering this course, then you must have at least these basics. But they should be channeling this through the Commission for University Education, not going straight to a university, because then you have too many centers.
You have too many moving parts in this.
Yeah. But by the time you're seeing that the Engineering Registration Board is declining to recognize a degree that has been issued, somebody has gone through an entire degree program
Surely,
at the university.
And then you decide
And then at the end is when you're saying,
very end.
So where were you during this
How about you
whole
have
time?
this conversation at the beginning when somebody has not selected what their major is? You have the first year when you're still, teeter-tottering about trying to figure out where you're going. How about you have that conversation then? You allow me to go through all the coursework. I sit through all the exams. I do all the theory and practicals. I pay to go to university for 4 years, and then the profession that I want to enter into, you tell me, oh, well, actually, you've not met the muster. Are you crazy? Or what drugs are you high on? How do you do that at that point? No, they need to figure it out. They really need to figure it out because it is unfair.
So it's not even unfair. It's unclear why it is that they even assume that such powers should actually be normalized and
rest on them solely.
Yes. You see, that's the thing that I don't understand. They want to usurp the functions of the university.
No.
The university has been accredited. The people who teach there are qualified to teach there. The courses that they teach are part of the accreditation process.
Yeah.
Okay. Because by the time you get accredited, or by the time you are actually allowed to receive a charter, my friend, they've gone through all these things.
They've jumped through all the hoops. They've laid low where they were supposed to. They've done it.
Yes.
A charter, you don't just hand out a charter to anybody. You have to do the due diligence to get it.
This is Kenya, though.
Come on, man.
That little detail.
That's the little detail that we have to remember, that this is Kenya. For example, when there was a certain medical course that was scrapped out of one of those universities, or when the Council for Legal Education was cancelling some of these courses, they were saying, this is what you need. You need X number of facilities. You need X number of tutors per student. You need A, B, C, D. If you don't have those, how can you claim that you are churning out a university graduate?
Makes sense.
I agree.
But that one makes sense.
We don't have one for communication, but if you look at the kind of programs that these universities are offering in the name of communication, crap.
Absolutely.
You find one lecturer who moves out of Nairobi, goes to, let's say, Masai Mara University next week, and they're going with their own camera.
Even the ones who are
because the university does not have a camera.
And they're offering communication.
And they're offering communication. So this one goes with the camera and shows the students now. So this is a camera. So this is how you operate the camera. And then they carry the lecturer carries the camera to the next.
But don't look. Why don't we just say it? Strathmore Business School, USIU, Daystar. We all know our lecturers because it's the same fellas doing the same thing.
Which is okay if
those are private schools.
Yes,
we're not even talking about the public schools.
If the accreditation said, all right, so you have these are the basics, and then there is a proper follow-up and inspection process that happens regularly, that you're offering this course. How many do you have in this course? How many are sitting in a lecture hall? How many is one lecturer dealing with? How many lecturers do you have offering this particular course? Remember Jay Quat and how many PhDs?
Yeah, which are what? And they're not real. So what are we looking at here?
So this is Kenya.
Man.
It's crazy. Siti, tell us a story.
Happy story here. Right. You know, this story of Al-Shabaab
recruiting, collecting signatures.
That one I'm going to avoid. I'm not going to deal with it.
Okay.
We can talk about it later. But the thing that I found particularly interesting was a quotation that is attributed to a Minister for Interior, where he says that they will not allow more people to die.
Where?
Because of demos.
Oh, okay.
So what came to my mind is, so you are allowing them.
So you allowed the previous
previously
ones to die,
and now you've decided that they shouldn't. There is a skewing of the discussions around these demonstrations. I'm looking at the headlines. I'm looking at the Star. Okay, there's the Uhuru linked to 40 million Azimio protest budget. Then on page 4, Ruto Raila headed for major showdown as allies trade barbs. Then there's what they said. I won't allow you to seek power on the back of the blood of Kenyans. I will stop you. Moses Kuria. Atakufa Wednesday 19th, Azikwe Saturday 29th. Okay? Kimani Ichung'wah and Aaron Cheriot. Our message to Raila Odinga is unequivocal. On Wednesday, we shall protect our country, our people, our property, and our democracy. Oburu Odinga, Siaya Senator. We are aware as a family and local community that you, Ruto, have plans. You want to finish the life of Raila, Opiyo and I, minority leader. Those who are in government have lost it. The government seems to be on panic mode. When you are in panic mode, you are bound to make mistakes, sometimes grave mistakes. Jared Okello and Nyando MP, going forward, if anything happens to Raila, including catching a cold, we'll take we'll take the blame to the doorstep of William Ruto. Now, these conversations, in my mind, are unnecessary. Because ostensibly, these demonstrations are supposed to be, from what I hear and what I've been hearing, they're about the cost of living. So when did this conversation come in? When did it come in? Because of what happened last week? And that story of last week, what do we really know?
What really happened?
What really happened?
What do we really know?
We do not know.
Apart from the barbs that keep the government, it's Raila who sponsored, Raila Group, it is the government who... What do we really know? Are we saying that what happened in the expressway is the same thing as what happened in Mlolongo? It was the same group. No, it was not the same group. Now, if indeed the discussion we are having is about the food, then you must include in that discussion, since you want to throw in everything, and the baby and the bathwater, is that it is possible citizens decided that they had had enough And they probably went on a walkabout to see if there was a demonstration. There was no demonstration. And while they did, somebody suggested, why don't we mess this thing up? Why am I saying this? If there is a problem, and in this country there is a problem, if there is hunger, and indeed we do have hunger and frustration, you cannot tell what people are going to do. You think you can, but you actually cannot. You cannot. I am reminded, in 1977, there was something called the bread riots of Egypt. There's a popular bread in Egypt called baladi bread. The government, since the Second World War, had been subsidizing this bread so that people could eat. Then the government removed the subsidy. Hey, my friend.
Belly up.
It took the army to quell the protests. And by the time they were quelling this, 3 days, 18th, 19th, 20th, 3 days. 80 people had died, 500 injured, 1,200 arrested. Because the price of baladi bread went up. Yes, nobody foresaw it. Because if they did, they would have stopped it. The problems are not being addressed. The alternatives to the issues that are being raised are not being addressed. We are being saddled with this conversation of somebody wants to kill Raila. We will stop the riots. Demonstrations must go on. The hungry are still going hungry. The poor are getting poorer. The problems that were there, they are not persisting. They're getting worse.
Yeah. It's because none of these groups are really concerned about that. These demonstrations, from the way they're led by Azimio, are not about the cost of living. They're not about all these things. That is what is used as a front, but that's not it. Kenya Kwanza, they look at it and they see exactly what the Azimio campaign is the Azimio brigade is pushing for, and it's not about the cost of living. That's why they don't talk about the cost of living. That's why the people need to actually have their own agenda and make their agenda very, very clear.
Absolutely.
It's not this other agenda. It's not the agenda. If it's a Raila demonstration, then it's a Raila demonstration. Because that's what now this conversation is pushing it to. It's a Raila demonstration. If it's a food demonstration, it would be a food demonstration. And the message would be very, very clear. This is why people are coming out on the streets. Not a mix of issues.
And
today is food. Tomorrow it's IEBC.
It's clear.
The other day it's Ruto must go home. There are too many things that are being said that it's clear. The organizers of the demos and those that are opposing them are fighting their own battle up there.
And in between, there's the real issue, which isn't going away, and if anything, it's worsening.
Yep.
It is.
Because the people who are hungry haven't stopped being hungry. They're still hungry.
Yep.
Those who do not know where the next meal is going to come from are still in that same position.
Yep.
Nothing has moved.
Yep. It's hope that is needed. Let's get to the news first. It's 7 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has given the strongest indication yet that the Azimio coalition intends to file a criminal case against the Inspector General of Police at the International Criminal Court. According to Kalonzo, the ICC holds individuals with the highest level of responsibility of institutions, and thus the Inspector General is accountable for the actions of the police service. He was speaking in Mwingi, where he blamed police officers for the pockets of violence seen during last week's protest on Wednesday.
I just want to remind the Inspector General of Kenya Police and actually change the name from Police Force to National Police Service. Hapa mnaweza kuhujumu hali ya demokrasia, mnaweza kuhujumu vile vile hali ya delivery of justice, lakini there is a higher court which sits at The Hague. And the rules of engagement are very clear. The person or persons bearing the highest responsibility, yule ambaye ametoa hiyo amri, ndiye atakuwa held responsible, and of course individual responsibility as well.
The Wiper leader emphasized that the right to picket or protest is protected by Kenyan law as long as the protests are not armed. He claimed that Azimio or One Kenya Alliance has been holding peaceful demonstrations and meetings across the country, but that whenever police are present, chaos ensues.
Kama maandamano hayako ndani ya katiba, I would not come and tell you tufanya maandamano. No, because it is clear. The right to picket, the right to demonstrate, it is there. The only condition, ukifanya maandamano usibebe silaha. Sasa wenye kubeba silaha kwa maandamano imetambulikana wazi ni polisi, ambao nia yao si kufanya maandamano, nia yao ni kudhuru maandamano. So these are painful lessons which unfortunately we have to go through as a nation, as we establish this nation state to be truly a democratic country.
According to Kalonzo, the protests in Mlolongo were peaceful until police officers shot dead a youth arcing anti-government protesters who were picketing over the high cost of living. Meanwhile, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki is urging retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka to respect President William Ruto and allow him to deliver on his mandate.
Hata wale ambao ni maofisa wakuu wa zamani wa serikali, whether is retired president, retired prime minister, retired vice president, so wasituone kama sisi ni wajinga. Haiwezekani ati mtu akiwa pale nje ndio anatoa pesa ya kuenda kulipa vijana kuvuruga serikali, lakini wakianza kuchokoza serikali watakipata. Na wengine wako na madharau, kwa sababu hata siku ile walikuwa wanatuumiza, walikuwa tu na madharau. Huwezi dharau rais ameketi kwa kiti na serikali nzima na uko hapo nje unajiita sijui nani, sijui former what. Usilete hiyo mambo.
And as leaders are vowed to continue with the planned protest this week despite being warned by the government. Speaking of a whole constituency, Kakamega County, Eugene Omalwa has said that they have been threatened that they will be arrested for leading the protest last week.
Though we may walk in the shadow of death this coming week, we will not fear, because the Lord is our shepherd. And that word Bishop has really encouraged me, because there are threats out there. Some of us, particularly the Azimio principals, have received threats directly. There are threats of us being arrested, threats of some of us being assassinated, and there are meetings that have taken place in different places, including State House.
And Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu says that the government will, starting this week, pay dues owed to the Kenya National Examination Council examiners in the 2022 exams. Speaking during the inauguration of Education Day by Area MP Gitonga Mukunji at Kangaroo School in Manyata constituency, CS Machogu said that 2 billion shillings has been set aside to ensure that NEC examiners, contracted officials and suppliers' debt is cleared.
Walimu wetu ambaye ndio tunatumia kuwa examiners katika mitihani yetu ya kitaifa, najua tulichelewa kidogo kulipa pesa yao, lakini sasa tumepewa bilioni 2 kutoka wiki nyingine. Mimi nitawalipa wote. Najua imechukua muda kidogo, lakini wote watalipwa, na vile kwenda mbele hiyo nitaweka priority, mazingira yao itakuwa sawa, na vile maripo yao itakuja wakati ambaye inafaa.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
All right, a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're looking at it building up actually quite heavily on the Thika Superhighway. It's been a minute since we've seen it this heavy. Everybody getting out of the weekend and then into the city with either work, school or business to get to. And so we're getting towards the Pangani underpass with quite some traffic today. Kiambu Road is also starting to pile up. Some of that traffic that's on the Thika Superhighway is looking for an escape route, and they found it in the east, on Outer Ring. Now trying to get through to the city, the longer route, but probably with the route that's offering the most promise. All right, on Jogo Road as well, there's traffic that's heading towards Landis and then out towards the Kamkunji roundabout. Into the city centre is where most of it is going today. Coming out of Westlands, Wayaki Way is also pretty busy. When looking at James Gishuru, also doing the thing right about now. Let's look at the other side of the city, where on North Airport Road, there's traffic going towards the Eastern Bypass, and that's busy all the way to Utawala. All right, let's keep an eye on things closer to 7:30 and see what it looks like then. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving this morning.
is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to
start. July 2023, Kenya's biggest conversation onto the second hour on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and on Facebook, where we are and where we're reminding you to help Colgate deliver water to 150,000 people in the country. How so?
So 30 water wells is what they want to build over the next think, right, over the next few months, So what do you need to do? Walk into any Naivas today, purchase toothpaste. You can purchase 1 tube, 2 tubes, 25 tubes, really up to you, and the proceeds from that is what goes towards sinking these wells. What does that do? Essentially guarantees that children can be at school. It guarantees that families are not going to be suffering from these health problems of no water. It guarantees that clean water will be used for cooking. It guarantees that sanitary is taken care of, drinking is taken care of, cooking is taken care of, and all of that means that health is optimized, children are back in school, and then you have families that are thriving properly because you did what? You bought toothpaste. I mean, 1 + 1 literally equals 2.
Like that.
Yes.
Okay. Also, something big is happening from today, 17th of July to the 20th of July. And this is the Employment and Labour Relations Court is having an annual symposium and exhibition at the KICC. Now, the Employment and Labour Relations Court is celebrating 10 years since it was elevated to a superior court by the Constitution. Before this, it just used to be a tribunal within the Ministry of Labour. Okay? Now it's a fully fledged court, similar to the High Court, with powers of the High Court. And it has courts established across the country in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Kakamega, Nyeri, Bungoma, Kericho, Malindi and Eldoret. And there are 10 sub-registries in Thika, Machakos, Garissa, Meru, Kisii, Voi, Siaya, Naivasha, Kitale and Nyamira. What they're doing now at the KICC is bringing all the judges there so that you can go and engage with them. And also this is where they come up and they do the rapid results initiative, where they want to clear up some of the pending backlog. Remember, we had a judge from this court the other day, and he was telling us they still have a backlog that's dating back 5 years. And this is big. And so all they're trying to do is clear. Now, if you are an employer, employee, union official, union leader, you can go to the KICC and interact with the judges and the registrars of the Employment and Labour Relations Court. It will also be streamed live on TV, and it will also be streamed online. City, this week's Proverbs, you say they're from which country?
Guinea. Not Guinea-Bissau, not Papua New Guinea.
Not Equatorial Guinea.
Not Equatorial Guinea.
Not any other, not Guinea fowl. Guinea.
Not even the guineas that were used for currency.
No. Guinea, the country.
Tell.
A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies.
A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away
flies.
A cow with no tail will not succeed if it tries to chase away flies. Okay.
No, it won't.
It should not.
Well,
you can try. Why not try?
Effort must be lauded, but you won't achieve much. It boils down to that concept of wishful thinking. If you don't have a tail and you are wagging something where the tail should be, you will not be wagging the tail. You'll be wagging your tail. So it's not. It won't quite do the trick, will it?
No, it wouldn't.
This gentleman who called himself Pieces of Eden. Pieces of Eden.
Yes.
He's in a group called The Watering Hole. He's heard this proverb and he says, this is a nice one. It makes sense with the just concluded AU summit.
Don't even get me started on AU. my pet project subject. Don't even get me started. But so this can be interpreted in very many ways. Number one,
a cow.
A cow.
Are you calling the AU a cow?
Are you calling the AU a cow?
Or the fly?
Are you calling AU a
tailless cow?
Without a tail. A tailless cow.
Are you calling the AU the tail that didn't have a cow?
The tail on its own, that does not have the body that could actually move the tail for purpose.
Itself onto.
Well, so this week again, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we are bracing for what we're calling protests.
Yes.
Right? And that's the headline in the Standard today. Kenyans brace for tough protest week. Azimio has declared it will hold demonstrations from Wednesday to Friday as Kenyans push for a lowering of the cost of living. But the move comes at a cost. Business will be paralyzed in many parts of the country. CT, you were reading the headline again in the Star as well, a story in the Star.
Yes,
that's talking about many other things and quoting various people and what they've said.
Yes, I was. And I was saying, you read all this and you ask yourself, let's get back to basics. What really are the protests about? That's one. What exactly are we being told they are about?
Okay.
What are the different parties relating to the protest? What are the opposition saying the protests are about? What is the government saying? And then there's the question of what is the reality that we have in this country. Are the lives of the citizens getting better? The answer is resoundingly no. Are people able to afford not even a livelihood, living, just basically surviving? The answer again is a resounding no. So are the costs of things moving, not gradually, but steadily and resoundingly again beyond the grasp for most people? The answer is no. But you do not hear this at the center of the discussions around these so-called demonstrations. Because it is Raila's demonstrations, according to some, and then there's Ruto's resistance of it. Okay? There's a discussion about laws that are being brought in. By the way, this isn't new. Essentially, they're just looking at the old constitution and looking at what the laws were then. You talk to the chief, who would then talk to God knows who, and the DO, and then the DC, and the... Man, in short, there was a process through which you could hold a demonstration, but you really couldn't. You really couldn't. And that is part of the reason why demonstrations were held irrespective of what the government thought or said. But we are not there now. You actually can't hold a demonstration. It is not only your right, but it's a process. But in all these things, if the individual who is the Kenyan, who is at the highest risk of dying because they can't eat, is not at the center of this discussion, then these things are actually futile, as are the discussions around it. But we must keep talking, because the situation that we have is one which, if it boils and gets to a certain crescendo, we will have a problem that none of these leaders who are now talking will be able to control.
What are these demonstrations about?
No. I can only answer that question by saying what the various leaders say these demonstrations are about.
From what you heard them saying, all right, what have you deduced these demonstrations to be about?
It's about two things, not one. It's about the problems that Kenyans have at the moment, the problems of rising costs, the unaffordability of costs of living in Kenya, and two, what one also hears is that the illegitimate government of Ruto must go. Now, how these two things are tied, I don't understand. I honestly do not. If you feel you want President Ruto to go, that's a separate discussion. If you feel you want the country to understand, or the leadership to understand, that they must take care of the problem of people going hungry, it's a different discussion. But if you bundle them, so I'm asking, so if Ruto suddenly left, how exactly would people suddenly get more food? Let's say Ruto left and he was no longer there. What would then happen? If Ruto left, we're assuming he would live with Gachagua. So then what would happen? No, I'm just asking. What do you think? Because it's being asked for, so let's say it happens.
Okay.
So then what do we have?
Next step.
Next step. Who becomes president in the interim? Wetangula?
Yeah.
Okay, so Wetangula becomes for what, 90 days?
Yeah.
Then we go back to the elections again.
Yes.
And then what happens? Okay, let's say Raila becomes president. Suddenly, are we going to have a situation where the cost of living will suddenly go down?
And the taxes will be reduced.
And the taxes will revert back to factory settings, the earlier one.
No, they'll be lowered.
They'll be lowered completely.
The previous ones.
All right. But the thing also that will happen is that now the Ruto Brigade will say Raila must go. Now we'll have
go back to the streets.
We'll go back to the streets, and now it's Raila who must go. So, will the plight of the Mwananchi have been resolved in any way?
I want to look at some protests that took place in other countries that maybe one would say yielded some kind of attention, even at the very least attention. If you want to look at what happened that then caused the Arab Spring, if you want to look at protests that took place in Chile when folks are complaining about the cost of transportation, you talk about Egypt and the bread, and it did not take
Sudan and bread as well.
Yeah, and bread as well. It did not take somebody to lead people and say, let us go and protest.
No.
You hear what I'm saying? It did not say that there were going to be announcements on regular basis and say, tomorrow we are going out into the streets. No. These things were fluid because the people actually felt this pain right at the point, and they said, we've been pushed to the wall, we cannot take this anymore. Nobody needed to tell them. When one person got out into the street, it didn't need anybody else to remind them that they were feeling the pain of this. So this feels almost kind of forced to me. And if you have to tell people on a regular basis, we will be protesting on a certain date, it seems as though there's something that is being pre-packaged for people. And my question then becomes, have Kenyans, we know Kenyans are at a point whereby things are very, very difficult. 3 months ago, things were difficult. Today, they're a lot more difficult. You cannot compare that there's not enough shilling to get around the issues that people have, isn't it? People are feeling this. But to the point whereby Kenyans are not on their own coming out and saying, we need to do something about this. It still feels as though somebody is saying it on your behalf. And for me, that could be the reason why on the government side, it's not being taken as something that needs to be done and done now. Because let me tell you the truth. You see the things that happened in Chile when people came and the whole transport system was brought to a standstill. Billions of dollars were lost on a daily basis. The Arab Spring, where people were out in the streets morning, noon and night. It didn't matter what you said. Arrest us, we be bailed out. Guess what? When they were bailed out, did they go home?
Nope.
No. They were bailed out and they went back into the streets. If you have a situation like this, I guarantee you 1,000%, your government will sit up and take notice and do one of two things. They'll do something about it, or they'll put their hands up and they'll say, this one, we actually cannot do. But if it appears as though somebody is doing it on your behalf, that you, the Kenyans that people are shouting about, we're not seeing that you really feel it. In fact, we have even been told, but Kenyans are not complaining. It's a few people who are out in the streets. Kenyans are not complaining. Kenyans do not feel it. What would you do? If you feel that 50 million Kenyans, out of the 50 million, less than 1 million are coming into the streets, would you feel burdened to do something about it really? No.
You do something. You know, what is happening here, in my opinion, is the political class is basically managing the people.
That's it.
To make sure that the people do not do something about whatever they want to do, you know? This whole conversation of, we are pouring onto the streets, we are Azimio, and then now the Kenya Kwanza leaders will come and taunt them. So they're taunting each other. They are basically just managing us. I asked, what are these demonstrations about? Because Kenya Kwanza, and we've talked about it here before, not Kenya Kwanza, but Azimio has been having this message. It's about the cost of living. The price of unga must come down. How or reintroduce subsidies that were there for unga. Those subsidies did not work, first of all. They speak as if they had a very a formula that worked. Those subsidies did not work. So they talk about introduce subsidies. Anyway, so the next thing they talk about is open the servers and let's have electoral justice. Let's audit last year's election. Okay. The other thing they talk about is stop interfering with our MPs in Parliament. Stop buying our MPs in Parliament. Okay. Yeah. The other thing they talk about is IEBC. Let us participate all together in reconstituting the IEBC. These issues, apart from that one of food, the other three are about the politicians haggling for space and relevance. And the one on the cost of living, that's why it is so it lacks direction. You see, the others, they say, let's reconstitute IEBC selection panel. We'll be sitting there. Cost of living, bei ya unga imepanda, bei ya unga ishuke, they don't say exactly how, exactly what to do. It's because it's not the conversation. The conversation that we have from these people in the political class is one. Mtatuona. You will listen to us, you will give us something, and you leave us alone. And we will leave you alone. And trying to occupy that space so that nobody else comes up to occupy that space. Remember when one Sunday President Ruto came out and said, let's have dialogue, let's have parliamentary dialogue. Later that evening, the Azimio leadership came out and said, all right, we agree to the dialogue, but we shall have dialogue structured in a certain way. The civil society tried kidogo to say, how about we have a national conversation? And not just about these particular issues, but have a national conversation on issues. Where did that go? Nowhere. It was brought back into we shall have it as parliamentary, and then we shall have a technical team that will assist the parliamentary team because the politicians wanted to retain this conversation, it being about them. Civil society wanted to say, let's have a public conversation about it, right? And
the civil society,
it was killed.
The civil society were holding the broom from the right hand. They understood it. Eric, you've mentioned this in the past, not as in yesterday, even last year. You say, there's a need for that Boma-style national conversation. The way things are going, we really do need to have a national conversation. A national conversation involves people in more ways than one. And the politicians become just part of that group. But this one is the politicians who are the center of it. Now, the unfortunate thing is one doesn't, let me speak for myself. I do not trust politicians. I do not trust their intentions. I do not trust the things they say. I do not trust. More so when they say that what they're doing is in the interest of the people. That I absolutely do not trust. Because I have very little evidence to support that particular view. I hear it, but there's very little evidence. There is no one who's making people hungry. They are already hungry. But the things that can be controlled by the politicians, like the cost of living, we are seeing how that is being handled. This is a recipe for disaster. You do not need to be very bright to understand this. So, are we to wait until people reach the end of their tether? Are we? And if we're to go by the countries that you've mentioned, when people reach the end of the tether, I go back to Egypt. The police were overwhelmed.
You don't want people to reach the end of their tether.
No, you don't.
Because
Egypt,
unfortunately,
1977, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sudan, 21?
Yes.
Sri Lanka,
Yes.
2022.
Yes.
What happened? Lebanon, just a few years earlier.
What happened?
In Sri Lanka, it wasn't about, yes, we know Rajapaksa and his family are the problem. But did people go to parliament?
No, they went to the palace.
They went to both.
Yes.
They went to parliament. They invaded the prime minister's house. They went to seek out the president. They knew it's all of you band of leaders. Get out. All of you. Lebanon, it was the same thing. All of you Banan.
Out.
Get out. Azimio Kenya Kwanza know this. And that's why they are playing this game. My theory, conspiracy theory, is these two guys understand exactly what they're doing. They're managing the public. This whole demonstration story now, next week, next week we'll do it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
This week?
Yeah, that's what they were saying last week. Then we'll tell you what happens next. Then we'll collect 10 million signatures. No, we'll make it 15 million signatures. Okay, it's okay. We'll tell you then what happens after the signatures come.
Make it 20.
And then now next week, once we see what happens this week, then we'll see whether to do it for one day next week. It's all management of people. It's all management of the people. And it's unfortunate that this is what they are leading us to do, because at the end of the day, people are dying. The mother and father whose son had come home for school fees, it's because they did not have money to actually pay the school fees in the first place that this kid was sent home.
Yes.
Okay? He was sent home, he came home, and on that day there was a demonstration. He was like, wacha nikaona demonstration. He was shot, he died. They didn't have money to keep this kid in school in the first place.
If they did, the boy would not have gone home and he would not have been shot.
See, now this is the thing. That
there was a 15-year-old kid again who was killed in Emali. 15-year-old child killed in Emali on a weekday because he was closing his father's shop or his mother's shop. Shot again. This kid should have been in school. Why was he not in school? These are the issues. But none of them are talking about the fact that people are not able to send their children to school. Now it's all grandstanding, mutakipata, mutakijua. Unaongea ati hapa kama ex, former what, former nini. That's what Kithure Kindiki is saying. The other side are saying you will see fire. People are going to talk to you and you're going to understand. It is using the people to send your own message. Be truthful.
The tragedy of the lost lives is completely lost in this conversation.
Yeah.
In fact, it doesn't feature. Beyond being reported, it moved from 7, it's now 10. Okay? Nothing. 10 lives. I asked this question the other day. How do you quantify 10 lives? We've quantified the 700 million. We've quantified some 3 billion lost. We've quantified them. How do we quantify these lives? And everything that was quantified can be restored. These lives are gone. There is no replacement. There is no substitute. It's done, gone. How do you substitute those who've lost their loved ones? How do you substitute their grief? How do they understand what it is that their loved ones died for? And is this not the story of our lives here? People die, and these matters are never resolved.
That's it. They just become collateral damage.
They die. So now, when people die because they are shot, and they didn't shoot themselves, and they were shot by the very people who are supposed to protect them, what really are you telling us about the state of our nation? And what are we saying about the state of those in leadership? And what are we saying about the state of those who are in the opposition? If the state isn't doing anything, should the opposition not speak about these lives more than anybody else? How do you demonstrate you're concerned about people when an opportunity arises when the very people you say you stand for are being killed, and you say barely a statement is made and that's it? And then you're back to telling us about how we should demonstrate for these things. And lives have been lost. Lives. People who were alive on that day lost their lives on that day.
It's sad.
The measure and the standard of how it is we judge ourselves as a country has been laid bare. We can see it.
It's very clear. Those people that lost their loved ones, they are today forming WhatsApp groups, forming Arambe committees in their villages, trying to raise money to organize funerals.
Yep.
Okay? Moja Expressway has reopened. They are slapping us with a bill of 700 million shillings, which Kipchumba Murkomen has readily accepted, that guardrails and wires that were removed cost $5 million.
Yes, that's what he's telling us.
Because of removing guardrails and that chicken mesh thing on the road.
Yes.
And some wires, because the street lights posts are still there.
Intact.
It's just the wires that were. Those wires, because those ones were demolished.
And those flower pots.
And the flower pots.
The whole expressway.
Yeah.
No.
It's just about 4 kilometers or 5 kilometers.
Yeah.
That will cost us $5 million. And the government has accepted,
no problem. We'll fix it. We'll pay.
$5 million.
And now, as though this will be better, there's a legislation they now want to push that will not only outlaw these things, but will lay blame at the foot of those who led those particular riots. So you will pay the bill.
There is no law. Forget about that. Is stories. Nothing. Who? If there's anybody who's responsible right now, they'd have arrested them. Not for slapping them with a bill, but for breaking the law. There's nothing like those are stories. As I'm telling you, this political class, we are the ones whose taxes are going to pay Moja Expressway 700 million shillings.
And
we are the ones who are going to form WhatsApp groups to bury our neighbors and our children.
Let me remind you
when they
guys,
die in a demonstration.
Please allow me to remind you of something. If you want to understand the state of a nation, forget about all these things that politicians say on a daily basis. If you want to ask yourself, truly, where does the nation lie today? Look at the state of the person who is unable to feed themselves, unable to treat themselves, unable to educate themselves on a daily basis. That is what Kenya looks like. That is what Kenya looks like. That's the true picture. Look at your systems. That's the true picture. So all these things people are saying up and down, jumping about, saying come and demonstrate. Others are saying we'll beat you if you do. That's just a smoke screen for your attention to be taken away from the true picture of things. Kenyans are not mad to say that actually this thing is biting us. Look at the numbers. We're being told, we read these headlines here every day. The rate of default in banks today where people are not able to pay their loans. People are not able to pay their loans. People cannot send their children to school. Just like you said, why did that boy die? He came home because the parents could not afford school fees. That's why he was at home. How many issues do we need to talk about? Look at the education system. Presidential Working Party has been working all over the place, telling us all these lofty ideas about an education system that is sick. It's on its knees. The health system, they cry to us every day. Doctors are making noise, jumping up and down. Didn't I tell you? Saudi Arabia said they can take nurses. On Friday, do you know what that number was? People want to get out. Why? They announced it on Thursday. By Friday, how many people already asking questions? Ask yourself what's really going on. But you hear the top layer of this conversation. People don't want to deal with the issues, and people want to be in a position where they can control once again the people.
Yeah. Let's take a break on this note, right? So Showmax episode 2 of Faithless came out on Thursday. Episode 3 is coming out on this Thursday. Faithless.
It's drama like Kenya. It's drama, and it's really interesting to watch. Showmax is Kenya's latest original title, and it's looking at the intrigues of crime and how friends would or would not get involved in a sticky situation. What's it going to be this week? What will Esther and her 4 friends run into? What will the brother who's being sought by this gang lord find out? We'll find out. Log on to showmax.com, pay, subscribe, and watch.
Indeed, and please walk into Naivas today or any day and buy a tube of Colgate. Why is it important? It's because buying Colgate helps build 30 wells for 150,000 people who will benefit from this. Imagine children who will be benefiting from this. Time for that break. Back shortly.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
So who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building. It's cloudy, misty morning in Nairobi at 12, highs of 23 and lows of 11. It's 13 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 26 and highs of 21 in a partly cloudy Nyeri at 13. It's 13 and sunny conditions in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 11 at 22. Mombasa is mostly sunny, highs of 28 and lows of 22. 28 will be the high in a sunny Malindi at 25. At 20, it's mostly sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30, lows of 19, while Kakamega is mostly sunny at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 15. All right, looking into Kampala, we'll see highs of 26, and in Dar es Salaam, highs of 29 and lows of 23, sunny through the day. It's 6 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, going to highs of 20, while Lagos will see highs of 30 through Monday. Partly cloudy conditions at 23 in Kinshasa, highs of 33 and lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
All right, we saw traffic really heavy on the Thika Superhighway this morning, and that still continues as folks are trying to get into town. Now look at Kiambu Road, well beyond DCI today, and that's heavy traffic trying to come in from the junction of Muthaiga North and well in from the northern bypass. We're also showing signs of heavy traffic coming in on Limuru Road, Ruaka, Kitisuru, all of that then coming in through towards the CBD. So that traffic has started very early today as well, and it's heavy. Coming off of James Gishuru, not too crazy. Waiakiwe is also doing all right, at least for now. We're going to see that pack up closer to 8. We're also seeing traffic then very busy now on Landis. It's bumper to bumper and some more. There's only one way out on Landis. It's going to touch on Kamkunji at some point. So if you're stuck in that, you have to sit tight and wait and see how that's going to open up. Langata Road is also spilling over to Raila Odinga Way and touching on traffic that's coming from Gong Road. Traffic hour is busy. It started early and it's likely to be a crazy Monday morning. Let's see what's going on through the morning. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Open www.bomayetu.go.ke. Okay? Bomayangu, not here too. Bomayangu.go.ke. Is you open?
I'm open.
Oh, you're opening? Okay. www.bomayangu.go.ke. So, do you know what about this? Okay. This one is the government portal for affordable housing, the affordable housing program, the initiative by the government that targets the delivery of decent and affordable housing to many people. This is basically how you're going to get your way into any of the affordable housing projects that are being rolled out by the government across the country. So Bomayangu is this portal where you go, you register, and you start saving. And when your saving reaches a certain percentage, that's 12.5% of the value of your dream home, then you qualify for, you're eligible for allocation. So what you do with Bomayangu is you go to www.bomayangu.go.ke, or you can actually just do it very simply. Just dial *832# and register. *832#. We'll do that shortly in the next hour. *832#. You register, you start saving. As you start saving, you identify any of the housing projects that you'd like to own a home in. When you get to 12.5% of your savings, then you are eligible for getting a house. It's important to get this. All right? It's the government's affordable housing program. Bomayangu.go.ke. The conversation continues about what we are seeing in the country. The people in government are saying things. In the news, we just had a set of playing a clip of the Interior CS, Kithure Kindiki, saying there are people who are fanning unrest in the country, and this cannot be tolerated by the government. And they're saying, no. People are dying. We cannot allow more people to die. And then we have seen tweets by the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for industry, trade and innovation, investment, trade and industry, the Honorable Moses Kuria, and the things that he says, touching on very dicey lines in what he says on his tweets. Other leaders also saying the same kind of thing. And you wonder, okay, so when did this conversation move from what was billed as the conversation, which is the people of Kenya and their need, to this political conversation? Last week, there was also another message. Senator Edwin Sifuna had appeared on morning TV at Citizen, and he said Kenya Kwanza cannot order the arrest of Raila. He said from next week, we're going to have 3 days of demos straight until President Ruto listens to Kenyans. And this was tweeted by Citizen TV. And then Professor Willy Mutunga, who's the Chief Justice Emeritus, said, who are Kenyans in this context? This intra-elite struggle should not be in the name of Kenyans. Get the handshake and your nusumkate so that dictatorship of the elite is united, so that people's demonstrations against this class of looters make sense. He's basically saying, you two groups, the language that you're speaking is the same language, right? And stop mixing us here. He's telling us that you are doing it for Kenyans. Can you go now join together so that the people of Kenya can clearly see what their leaders are doing and not doing?
Do you think Kenyans are confused as to what's going on? No. Do you think Kenyans are splitting the issues? And I think it would be very interesting to hear. But do you think Kenyans are splitting the issues here as they are being split by both sides? Because there are two sides. We can't run away from that. There's the government side who says, look, we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, and it's going to take some time to sort out. And in the name of demonstrations, this cannot go on. That's clear from that side. The opposition, as it were, is saying, look, Kenyans are crying and they're saying that the cost of living has gone through the roof. Something needs to be done about it. Number 2, you as a government are illegitimate. Number 3, we need to be talking about electoral reforms, etc., etc. Do you think Kenyans are settled on those two and are saying, okay, well, let's look from left to right and then see who's going to budge? Or are Kenyans concerned with the things that directly concern them, for which they have a clear understanding that government is supposed to be making an environment conducive enough so that those concerns are met? Are Kenyans identifying with both of these sides, whatever side it is that you are on politically? Or is the main issue the concern for which Kenyans have about their livelihoods of being able to get up in the morning and go to work, go to school, go to your business, go to whatever it is that involves you through the day, and that the things that you need in order to have these things done are delivered to you, or that you're able to achieve them or get them in a conducive environment? For me, I would say that that's just it. That Kenyans are concerned about those things. Kenyans don't give a damn about who annoyed who on the political scene. Kenyans don't care whether you want to show whose chest is bigger in this kind of operation. And I'm telling you, once it gets to the point where Kenyans' needs and issues are not being met, to the point where they feel a frustration so great that they cannot come back from it, you will not have to ask anybody to come out into the streets. You will not have to ask people to find out which side of the political divide they lie on. And I'm saying that time has not happened. It has not come yet. Kenyans have not gotten to the point where it is so bad that they're going to have to spill over. It has not gotten to that point.
Not yet, but Kenyans
what
are concerned.
What I'm saying is that those people in a position to deal with a situation whereby it doesn't have to get to where Kenyans really do demonstrate, need to buckle down and do their job.
Oh, no, that's what they're doing,
No, they're not. If we're being...
Let me tell you, they clearly know that they don't have a silver bullet, all right? And what they've done is they've galvanized, they've come together to confuse the Kenyan. Like you've said, Kenyans, whether supporters of Kenya Kwanza or Azimio or non-aligned, all understand the pain that they're feeling, okay? The division comes in the messaging that comes along with it. On one side is sending the message that, these guys who are in office are supposed to be doing things and they're not doing them, and that's why we are not moving. All right. The other side is saying we are trying to do something, but now look, we keep getting distracted by these other guys who are not in government, who just want a nusumkate. They just want to come and distract us. And that's where the division is. The main issue, whether we all understand, I think we all do. And that's why the politicians have taken this, and this is why I'm saying this is my conspiracy theory. Both sides are working together, at least the leadership. The leadership of Azimio and the leadership of Kenya Kwanza. They are together, they understand. They're having that same message. They are riding on the fact that the Kenyan is feeling bad about the situation. And in order to make sure that this Kenyan is not the one that is completely taking control of the narrative, they are the ones who are taking control of the narrative. When you see the leadership of Azimio saying mutakipata, mtajua sisi ni nani, mtajua tuko na watu, mtajua tuko na 10 million, tuko na 15 million, mtajua, and the other side saying si tuliwashinda, tutawapeleka Bondo, tutawapeleka nyumbani. They are speaking the same language. They are avoiding somebody else from coming out and saying, guys, our leaders are not just those in State House. Our leaders are those we elected from the county assembly all the way to State House. Those are our leaders. Our leaders have the power to make things happen.
Better.
Our leaders owe us some communication. Our leaders, but if you listen to those who are speaking, the senators and the MPs from Azimio speaking as if they have no role at all to play. The governors in Azimio speaking as if they have no role to play. The governors in Kenya Kwanza speaking as if they are not doing anything, and because Maandamano is distracting them.
That's why we can't work.
That's why we can't work. The president and his cabinet ministers saying, you know what, these people are just disturbing us. This is them keeping us from having our conversation.
If you look at the trajectory of the conversation, began by looking at countries where civil upheavals have occurred. When the political class are blind and deaf to the plight of their fellow citizens, what they don't know they're doing is they're creating a third party. They're creating a third group of people who may represent the voiceless in ways that they cannot. And it isn't as though it will be one of them or either of them. It will be those who with clarity understand that they are not interested in what these two groups are offering currently. Because they are offering the same thing, vagueness. Okay? On the one hand, you're promised this and it doesn't happen. On the other hand, you're supposed to be addressing the plight of the people, but the conversation is completely different from the plight of the people. So really, anything that directly relates to the Mwananchi is simply not being addressed. It's odd about history. It's odd about understanding history, and it's odd about how it is that we never seem to take a very keen interest in understanding what history teaches us. Now, platitudes abound as to what happens when people don't understand history or don't follow it or don't interpret it correctly. But in this country, it represents a change in our social and political situation, a change that is not going to occur, it is actually with us. When anyone who is considered to be a political leader right now is at a place where it is felt by those who elected them that their interests are not being looked after, they will look for somebody else, or they'll look for a different group of people. I observe the churches getting bolder in their tackling these matters. They're actually speaking boldly. I refer to the discussion that Archbishop Maharia was having in Citizen and the things he came out and said boldly. Now, this boldness is what is needed. Simply saying it as it is, not sugarcoating it. So and so, this is where you're wrong and you must be told. You're not handling this well, this is where it must be told.
Can I ask us a question? Simple. Because Kenya does have a cost of living issue, high cost of living problem. Kenya does have a problem when it comes to development of infrastructure. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Because people complain about, lack of roads. People complain about education systems. People complain about health, not being able to access it, right? Those problems are in Kenya today. Kenya is not the first one to have had these issues. There are countries whereby these issues have been present and then they have dealt with them in one way or another. There are also countries where this problem has been felt and they have not dealt with them. And so then we have the examples which you gave and we saw Egypt, Sri Lanka, and we saw the things that happened in those countries. So two things. It is possible to deal with these matters. It is possible to lay certain things aside. In this country, we've seen where things have been laid aside to make sure that the country, in terms of its development index, at least settled, and that you have certain progressions that you make economically. You can do it. We keep giving the example of Kibaki and how he did it. It's possible to have those things done. It's also possible to see a situation whereby if you do not deal with them, but just imagine when you have a pressure cooker situation, what happens? What happens? The natural inclination is for the thing to combust, is it not? That is the natural inclination. And I am saying that you have the ingredients for internal combustion, and right now they're just simmering. It has not gotten to the point whereby the pressures are so strong that people will blow up. And I am saying that if you do not deal with it, if you don't take the lid off, if you don't remove that little thing that's going to make sure that your pressure then ceases, if you don't deal with those issues, you will have a situation that you will not then be able to manage. Can something be done about it? I say yes. Is there a choice to do something about it? Yes. Is it being used? It is not. And that is what Kenyans ought to see. That the pain that you feel when you wake up every morning, somebody can do something about it, but it's choosing not to.
Can I ask a question?
And that is what is going to bring about the problem.
Can I ask a question? I mean, we've pontificated on the selfishness and the self-interest that our political leadership have. But let me meander into the galaxy a little bit.
Heaven.
No, just galaxy.
Okay.
But not even interplanetary, just intercontinental discussions. Are we alone in these discussions as Kenyans, or do we have other people who have an interest poking their fingers and their business into our business? You see, the moment you hear IMF and World Bank, a lot happens that is outside your control. Well, it's within your control, yes, but the thing that the IMF and World Bank don't seem to have been able to understand is how it is they can bring about disciplined financial situation that benefit the people. They have a rule book that seems to favor them. And from the way I see it, whenever they say tighten your belt, it means we are going to levy some really unreasonable conditions that will really make you suffer. And sometimes I think the people who will suffer the most, the citizens are already suffering, so their suffering is a constant, and even if it increases, the gradient can be seen. But some of those measures seem to be guaranteed to get the leadership who are in a position of authority out of that leadership. Because if you implement them as stated, you will be more unpopular than you thought was reasonably possible. If it is indeed the World Bank or IMF who are saying raise taxes, remove subsidies and do all these things, because in Egypt that was it really. This story of remove subsidies, that's what came in, and the subsidies were removed. The government decided World Bank and IMF can do their thing. These subsidies are going back. We are not removing them because the removal. So when our leaders listen and determine to follow the dictates of these lending bodies, whom somehow they seem attracted to, and whom they seem addicted to, keep going to borrow, the noose just keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Do they see that their tenure is going to become more and more unpopular?
Are you trying to say, CT, that they don't have a choice in this matter?
I'm saying they have a choice, but the choice is to either find a clever way of giving the impression that they're meeting those needs and yet serving their countrymen, or simply saying these things are impossible and it's going to make us unpopular, because it is definitely going to make this government more and more unpopular by the day.
I think it just calls for statesmanship here. All right? Let both sides agree that they were all in it when they were screwing up the economy. All of them. Ruto was deputy president, Uhuru was president, Raila as brother to the handshake. They all watched and saw as we got where we are. And they are all seeing where we are going to next. So when we are at this point where we are just being controlled by external factors, they all can see. The truth is they should now just come together and tell us the truth. Guys, it's going to be tough, it's going to be painful, and this is what we're going to do. But no, what the political leaders are doing is they are, see that analogy you've given of the pressure cooker? The pressure cooker has that normal nozzle that's there.
The breather.
The little breather. That's what this whole Mandamano thing is all about.
The breather.
It's creating a breather so that the pressure does not continue to build and so that people don't start asking the questions the right way. Because if you remove all these things, would start asking the questions. Okay, so this is what the Kenya Kwanza manifesto is all about. Where are we on this? Tick,
Number
not
two.
tick. Number two, tick, not tick. So you guys are in Azimio. You're in Parliament. What questions are you asking in Parliament? Is this what you're asking?
Are they aligned to this?
Are they aligned to this? Are you pushing against this? Are you pushing back on this? If you do not want this, what alternative are you pushing for and how are you pushing for it? We'd all be looking at leaders and what they're doing. But no. That's why we have this small breather of every 5 days, every so often.
We shout and make noise in the street.
Well, it takes your focus to
that and away from
everything else.
Yes.
When is the last time that President Ruto stood on a podium and talked about development agenda properly without bringing in Uyumze?
Or without bringing in the Hustler Fund and how it's helping solve all our problems?
Even that Hustler Fund, when is the last time that you actually had proper accountability for what the Hustler Fund has done so far? Because by now we'd be having a conversation. So 6 months since the introduction of Hustler Fund, this is the impact. This is where we are. We're encouraging everybody getting to the Hustler Fund. In fact, the pressure would now be building on members of parliament to increase the allocation to the Hustler Fund because it's really working so well. But no, we are not having that conversation. No, we are not having a conversation about how much is being spent by government in excess of what they were supposed to have spent. We are not having a conversation about what members of parliament, Parliamentary Service Commission and the others are spending on unnecessary meetings and travel and everything else. We are not having a conversation on the excesses and the largesse of this government and political elite. All of them. All, executive, judiciary, legislature, and how much they are spending unnecessarily. And then taxing us for it. We are not having those conversations. We are talking about tutawakanyaga, tutawavuruga, mutakiona, tutawafunga.
Yes. It's all a conversation of who is going to give the other the gift of sight at the appropriate time. Mtaona.
It is, like you said, Ndu, when the pressure really builds, when people decide to andamana,
you wouldn't have to ask.
There will be no question.
You will know
about people's mandamano.
You will know.
These are the mandamanos. This is political management of a people by the political elite. All of them joining together. And those of us that die, well, yeah. I mean, that adds into the oomph of everything else.
Nobody needs to tell you when you're hungry, my friend. Nobody needs to remind you, CT, today you're hungry, come outside and start shouting. No. You will come out. Or if things are too thick, hey, CT, the pressure in there is too much, come out before you get burned. No. You will come out.
Anyway, keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we talk about devolution, all right? So since 2013, we've had devolved units in the country. It's 10 years since is devolution delivering the promise. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kajiado Governor Joseph Olelenko is the latest leader to call for dialogue between President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga, while adding that the economy of the country has not improved. He stated that the president should not be blamed for it.
Kwa niaba ya viongozi wa Kajiado County, tunasema tufanye mazungumzo ya kurudisha taifa letu kwa laini, kwa sababu barabara ya kuharibu mali, barabara ya maandamano, barabara ya vita itatudhuru na itatuharibia nchi. Wananchi wanaumia sana. Tunajua kuna njaa sana mashinani, lakini tunajua pia kwamba hiyo imetokana na mipango za hapo awali.
Last week, the president maintained that he cannot talk with Odinga, with reports indicating that the parliamentary group meeting chaired by the president over the weekend focused on how the issues affecting the country will be solved.
Ati wanataka kutulazimisha ati tuwagawie serikali. Mimi nataka niwaulize jameni, mnataka tena serikali ile ya handshake ya kusumbuana na ukora na ujinga? Bana. Hii haiwezekani. Niliwaahidi ya kwamba tutapanga hii kazi na kazi hii itasonga mbele. Mimi nataka niwahakikishie, mimi nitakaa ngumu. Hawa nitawakalia ngumu. Kwa sababu Kenya ni yetu sisi zote, Kenya si ya maandamano.
And the temporary suspension of operations at the Mlolongo, Syokimau and SGR toll stations along the Nairobi Expressway has been lifted. In a statement, the toll road operator Moja Expressway Company urged all motorists using the road to be mindful of the ongoing repair works, recommending a speed limit of 80 kilometers per hour at the selected locations. The sections were closed after rowdy protesters uprooted fences, barricaded and vandalized the road during the anti-government protest, which in turn disrupted traffic on the route. Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, during a subsequent inspection of the road, said the damages incurred could be over 706.7 million shillings. And the Kenyan National Union of Teachers has denied reports that teachers in the country are planning for a strike to push for salary increment. NAT Secretary General Collins Oyu stated that NAT is pushing for a review of the collective bargaining agreement of 2021-2025. Oyu announced that after they issued a 14 days notice to TSC, they have received a positive response from the teachers' employer. Speaking to the press in Kisumu after gracing Kisumu NAT branch AGM, Oyu assured unions about teachers of maximum push to have their issues addressed. Oyu says the 2021-2025 CBA they signed with TSC was cashless, and there is now need to review it to include the component of money. And the head of state has said it is possible to build a more integrated, prosperous and stable Africa driven by its own people, leaders and resources. President William Ruto stated that the starting point should be the reforming of the African Union, regretting that over 5 decades after independence, the continent still relies on external funding to drive its agenda. It was not right, he insisted, for over 60% of Africa Union programs to be financed by overseas partners, yet the Pan-African movement has always been about sovereignty. And parties pushing for stability in Sudan have been asked to work together for fruitful realization of their plan. President William Ruto said IGAD and Jeddah processes must consolidate their efforts to facilitate the realization of a permanent ceasefire in the country. Speaking when he held a telephone consultation with the chairman of the Transitional Sovereign Council of Sudan, General Abdel Fattah Abdurrahman al-Burhan, Ruto said the union will skillfully push for access to humanitarian assistance, protection of refugees, as well as the reactivation of the political process. This, the head of state explained, will lay the foundation for lasting peace in Sudan. In his capacity as the chair of the IGAD quartet of heads of state on Sudan, the president also spoke with the president of Chad, General Mohamed Idris Dabi Ednah. And airstrikes, Pamel, Khartoum and fighting raged in Sudan's western Darfur region as a 3-month war between the army and rival paramilitaries showed no signs of abating. In the capital's east and northwest, army fighter jets targeted bases belonging to the paramilitary rapid support forces, who responded with anti-aircraft weapons. RSF drones targeted Khartoum's largest military hospital, according to witnesses, and a similar attack Saturday on the same facility left 5 dead and 22 injured. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5 Spice FM.
There is
Kisumu.
the interweb of traffic today, and it looks pretty messy from what we're looking at. Lunga Lunga, it's connecting from Outer Ring. So you're looking at Outer Ring, you're looking at Lunga Lunga, Likoni, Jogo Road. This is Manyanja Road. And then further north, we're looking at Kangunda Road, Komarok, and then into Juja Road. Very busy traffic. Adjacent to that is the Thika Superhighway, which is heavy with traffic, as is Kiambu Road. So if you're looking into a counterclockwise direction, then you have traffic coming off Limuru Road, and then Waiyaki Way, James Gishuru. All of this is connected, and Monday morning is very, very busy on the roads this morning. We're looking at into the city centre, out of the city centre, and Gong Road, coming off Magadi Road, and touching on Langata Road onto Raila Odinga Way. If you have not left, you might want to sit it out a bit and wait and see what it's going to be like. If you have, you're going to need a dollop of patience this Monday. Talk to us about what's going on where you are. Spice FM, KE on Twitter. We keep things moving, whichever way.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Have you been to Naivas? Or have you actually gone into the store itself, the physical store? Or have you gone to their e-commerce platform? And have you bought Colgates? It's important that you do that. Those that have bought Colgate have actually participated now in sinking 30 water wells that are going to benefit 150,000 people who should be having access to water, but they don't have access to water. Now, sinking of these water wells helps a lot because you are talking about a community that has previously been wondering where they're going to get water. It's there. When you wake up in the morning, you figure out, okay, this is what we need to do to secure water. And you spend hours on end just looking for water, getting water. Is the water clean? What's the quality of that water? Those are debatable issues. But then now, if you sink a water well, that then gives people access to clean drinking water, you have sorted them out a lot. You've increased their productivity hours. If it's children who are going to school, you've increased the time that they spend in school and their concentration in school. So just go and buy Colgate, okay? That's it. Just buy Colgate at Naivas, and you will be taking them on this journey. City, bomayangu.go.ke. First of all, Ndu, please tell him what Bomayangu is.
Bomayangu is the platform, affordable housing project by the government of Kenya. It's essentially ensuring that Kenyans have an opportunity to get housing that you essentially will call your own, right? So it's a platform that has been created deliberately just for this, for Kenyans, by the government.
Yes.
Okay.
And what they're asking you to do is do one thing, two thing, three thing. Thing number one, register.
There you go.
Thing number two, save.
Yes.
Thing number three, own a house.
Exactly.
That's
Move
it.
in.
It's as simple as that. Okay, now City, you have your phone with you?
I do.
All right, just do star 832 hash.
Star 832 hash.
Yes.
That's what you want me to do.
8 comes after 7.
Star 832 hash.
Star 832 hash.
Yes. It'll ask you to register to Bomayangu. What is it telling you to do?
It's telling me I do not have enough credit.
That could be a problem.
All right, hold on. Let me get serious.
So
Sorry.
Do you not have credit?
Wow.
So 832 hash. Yes, welcome to Boma Yangu. By processing, you accept the terms and conditions. Then you have an option. 1, proceed. 2, decline. 3, get terms and conditions.
Okay.
So,
now the terms and conditions have been. I've read them.
We've already read them.
I've read them on your behalf. So proceed.
So I proceed. Okay.
Very good.
Boma Yangu registration. Enter your last name. Now, my last name. I've entered
as per your ID.
As per my ID.
Not any other last name.
So ile nyumbani. Okay. Mzee. You see here. Okay. Enter your ID number. 346. Sorry, you do not know my ID number.
Put it out there. Why don't you?
Welcome, Charles Muga. To complete registration, proceed.
As in, they know you.
They know you.
Yes.
Hey. Did you put Charles Muga or you just put Muga?
They've written
just
welcome,
Muga
Charles
and ID
Muga.
number. They go straight to the system.
To complete registration, proceed to make a minimum saving of 200 to activate your Boma Yangu account.
So that we're going to 200?
No.
Bus.
1, proceed. Okay. Please wait for a prompt from M-Pesa.
All right.
Okay.
It'll come on your screen and you just put in your PIN.
Yes. Put your PIN.
Very good.
Yes.
Have you put the PIN?
I have.
Your M-Pesa PIN, which is?
0000.
Okay. So once you've done that, basically, let me take you through it. Once you've just done that, the initial registration, 200 bob to register, it's the initial saving. Then after that, now when you log into *832# again, now it will be reminding you, oh, welcome back, Charles. So now you go through, you can see the areas where we have affordable housings. They are listed, this project here, this project there, this project in that county. Then they ask you, what would you like to own a home? You select one of those areas. Then they tell you now, start saving. These are the prices for the homes. You can go now to the website and see the details. When you get to 12.5% of the value of that house, you are eligible now to get into the next
place. There's a slight change though, because initially, if you read about it, they had stated it was 10%. Now it's 12.5 because those who actually read about it, who Google and find out what Boma Yangu was all about, the initial mention was 10%. Now, let's say it loudly. It's 12.5%.
12.5%.
Yes.
12.5%.
Yes, that's what it is.
And that's what you need. So once you are on Boma Yangu, this entire government plan on affordable housing, you're in it. Okay? And that's what the Ministry of Housing, it's the Department for Housing and Urban. It's called Housing and Urban Development.
Yes.
One of those things. It has housing.
Department of Land, Housing.
State Department for Housing. It has that. So they just tell you, register for Boma Yangu so that we can walk this journey of home ownership together.
It is a good plan. Yes. And it's actually clear and straightforward.
Yep.
I mean, once you dial *832,
hash.
Or, yes, there's the hash at the end of it. That information simply flows.
It just flows with you.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is what now makes sure that everybody who is on the platform then and is eligible, the algorithm is on that will pick you and tell you, City, you wanted a house in this particular project. House is ready. Hakuna mambo ya kujuana, I don't know, you know who, algorithm ndio inakujua. Our guest is in the studio. We want to have a conversation about devolution. Kethenje Kirago is the chairman of the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Good morning, Kethenje.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Okay, thank you. I've never been here. So I hope I have got the capacity to tolerate it.
We shall know shortly. We will know. But to welcome you to the conversation,
thank you.
City Muga, who is now on to owning a new home under the Affordable Housing Program, has the day's proverb. And this week's proverb are from?
Guinea.
This
country that is somewhere in the northwest of Africa. Interesting country. A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies.
A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies. Bwana Kirago, this proverb from Guinea.
Yes.
What's the interpretation of it?
I think, obviously, the first thing which is clear is you need, as we do in the fry whisk, you need some capacity. You need to be naturally endowed to try to handle the fly. And once the cow has missed that tail, then it doesn't have that capacity. Therefore, we need always to weigh ourselves in terms of what we are capable of doing and what we are not capable of doing, however simple it looks. Yes.
Always beware of what you can do, what you have capacity to do, and what you don't have capacity to do.
Correct.
Okay, that's a good one, City, right?
That is correct. And if, I'm often asked by people who are asked to give us their opinion on the proverbs. They say, did I get it right? And we tell you, actually, you always get it right because we are asking for your interpretation of the proverb.
Thank you.
So it is not possible for it to be wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
But in that respect, I would be happy to hear a different perspective.
I think you actually understood it well because cows are endowed with the tails.
Yes.
We human beings are not really endowed with the tails.
Yes.
But we have hands instead.
Right.
So if you're bothered by flies, you'll try and swat it with your hand.
Right.
So it'll play the same role as a cow's tail. Someone who has never been near cows will not understand this proverb well.
Right.
But if you have, it's very, very easy. You can actually even see the cow swatting the flies away.
Right.
Yes. So you are spot on.
Thank you.
Bwana Kirago, the IGRTC.
Yes.
We've had conversations about devolution, about the Council of Governors, about IBEC, about IGRTC, but sometimes we get confused on the role that IGRTC plays. What is the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee?
Right. In when the new constitution was established, one of the mantras of the constitution in Article 189 is that the two levels of government should work on the basis of consultation, cooperation, and coordination. So the Constitution knew very clearly that these two levels of government, their relationship and how it operates is going to impact on whether the devolved system of governance was going to be effective or not effective. And on that note also, it provided that there should be a law that establishes and confirms intergovernmental relations structures. There was a law in 2012 called Intergovernmental Relations Act of 2012, which established a number of intergovernmental relations structures. That is, the structures which will facilitate that which the Constitution demands: consultation, cooperation, and coordination between the two levels of government, or even between, therefore, the county governments themselves. And in that law, therefore, it is started by establishing what is called the National Summit. The National Summit is that organ between the president and the governors. Therefore, between the national government and the 47 governments, they are required to have a summit. And a summit is that meeting which brings them together, and they are supposed by law to have at least 2 of such meetings every year.
Okay.
So that is a vast organ, intergovernmental relations organ created by that law. The law also said the governors must have a council of governors. And the Council of Governors, therefore, was the other structure established by that law. The third institution which that was created by the Act was the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, to be the secretariat of the Summit and the Council of Governors. And in that context also facilitate the consultations, cooperation, and coordination between the two levels of government. Some things have changed because of the way things started. But we can still say the Council of Governors establish its own secretariat, given how things started when the transition to county governments took off. You know there was a lot of, shall we say, suspicion between lack of trust between the two levels of government. So the absence of the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, the council felt they needed something else because they were not happy how the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Actually, it was not operationalized until 2015, and devolution started in 2013. So the Council of Governors took over with its own secretariat in its own dynamic. But nonetheless, the summit, of course, then that just serves the Council of Governors. We still have that law of serving the summit. But additional to that, of course, were other functions, including there was some of the work which was left by the Transition Authority to be done by the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, the movement of staff, of assets and functions between the two levels of government, the whole issue of when disputes arise between the two levels of government, which is an institution which they go to. It is still the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, and we do quite a bit of that. So that is where we stand as Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee.
So basically, you're like the Transition Authority, Phase 2.
We are Transition Authority Plus in Phase 2. The Transition Authority Phase 2 Plus.
Plus other roles.
Yes, because, as it is, then there was, when the Transition Authority was there, initially, there was no summit. There were no disputes that they were really able to sort out between the two levels of government. There were functions which should have been devolved, were not devolved. There were many issues in terms of, and there remains many issues between the two levels of government still to be addressed. So we are still in the process of transition to a fully and effectively devolved system of governance. And that is our mandate.
So even as we do look at some of those issues, if we establish this, so essentially from 2013, this committee then was in place to make sure that there was a transition then from central government to the devolved units, right? Or was it at a different time?
No, actually, as I say, it should have been there by 2013. But the committee was not established until 2015.
2015. Okay, so 2 years down the line, then the committee was established, right?
Yes.
So before that, one can assume that, devolution was trying to find its way and then how it was going to settle then at the county level and then in, relationship to national government.
Right.
So from 2015 until now, so it's been 8 years since the committee has been there.
Right.
What would you say has been the progression of devolution at the county level working with the national government? And how have you seen that this has progressed to having 47 governments working in congruence with the national government?
Right. I would let me say it has been still a transition journey. And I would say, I think, when my home county, Embu, got the Catholic Diocese of Embu, and the current cardinal was a bishop. And 10 years later, I still remember that the most important message he passed to the congregants is that we have come from far, we are far, and we are still going far. Okay? And that is where we are with the devolution. We can look at devolution from different two important perspectives. The first perspective is what we call democratic governance. That was one important goal of it, that watu wajisikia wanajitawala, that people have some power in their hands at the local level to drive their own development agenda, and to feel that they have a government. The other one, that's the democratic governance side. Then the other one is about development, it's about service delivery. If you ask me, I would say in terms of developed governance, we probably are 80%. We are at A+, A level in terms of achievement. People have elected their local leaders, who are more empowered. The MC is not the same as the councillor who was there before. The county government is not anywhere. Is not a semblance of what we had as local government councils before. So in that sense, and in many important aspects of democratic governance, we are there 80%, not yet 100%. The 10%, the 20% deficit is partly to do with the county government leadership and governance generally, but also the other 10% has also to do with the state of wananchi in the country. And I could elaborate on that, but let me be brief for the time being. Then the second aspect of it is, of course, therefore, the issues of development and service delivery. There, I probably would say we are 65%. We are at B+. At B, not B+. We are at B. And the reasons are, again, to do partly because of that 20% deficit in governance, in democratic governance, the whole fact that we are not at where we need to be in terms of that consultation, cooperation, and coordination between the two levels of government. I think in that sense, therefore, we can say, we still have quite some way to go in terms of development and service delivery. But I think, in the totality of things, and again, we can interrogate this. We come a long way in terms of service delivery, in terms of development. In some places, they don't feel it as well as others do. But, for example, if we agree that part of the reason why we had devolution was that there were places which were feeling they have been neglected by the national government. Those people who feel they have been historical injustices in terms of delivery of development, delivery of services. I think if you go to many of those places, actually they will say they are at 80% in terms of service delivery. So there they will be A. And therefore, when I say 65%, it is on an average.
So when you say they would say that they were at 80%, is this in comparison to what was there before? So you're saying, in a place where there was nothing before,
yes,
now you're at 80%, so this is good, yes, as opposed to against another level of excellence or progression?
Correct. Okay. Because there are places where, people feel, they are at 50% or even 40% because historically they have just seen things going well for them. They have had hospitals, right? Okay, if you ask Nairobi people, they have always had hospital. And generally people know, places where school children have always gone to school, hospitals have always been generally available to them. They have had much better, they have had much better progression in terms of development because they have had cash crops on which they have made their money and so forth. And generally they have thrived. In the before devolution, they were thriving. Then there were those who felt, they are really out of it. They have not seen anything. And some of them would, and I'm sure I'm telling you what you have heard many times, that there are places where they said they have never seen tarmac at the local level. Now their town has tarmac. They never had a hospital to talk about in that county, but now they have what they call level 5 hospitals in those counties. They had no doctors in those places. I can remember where I have been myself, and they say before devolution they had only 3 doctors in the whole county. Now they have 50 plus of their own, and they have recruited, and they are doing things. And by the time you have 50 doctors, it means you have many more nurses than you had before. So, so we can say, on the whole, devolution has served its mission, but it will deliver much better to Kenyans in the future.
When a lot more happens.
Yes.
Is this 80% and 65% based on actual studies and a survey that you've conducted?
Well, let me say, I think the most authoritative work which has been done on devolution study independently has been done by a team that involved the World Bank. I happened by then and not gone into IGRTC, and I was a member of that study. It's called Making devolution work for service delivery. So, it is comprehensive, it is authoritative because, it is not, for example, Council of Governors saying we have achieved. This was, and that was a team which had a lot of Kenyan professionals as well as international development agencies, officers from outside, and sort of therefore also a peer review mechanism. So we can say that is one good chunk of it. But then also we have got what we would call we have views offered by many Kenyans in different publications and so on. So we have an understanding which did, maybe what you are telling me is we need to do a study which puts parameters and marks to say the 80 and so percent. I used it as a way of, creating a clarity in the perspective that I have. It is not, that there is a study which can say 80% and so forth.
Okay.
But maybe you are challenging me that we need to do something towards that head.
I think that's one of the things that IGRTC should be even benchmarking itself with, and knowing this is how devolution is working, and reporting this to the summit and telling the summit this is how it's working, and these are the challenges and areas that the summit, the president and the 47 governors need to be looking at.
We actually do that.
Oh, you do?
I mean, we do.
Okay.
For example, we lay out the figures. When we go to the next summit, we'll be saying how many functions, for example, have remained to be involved to counting governments, how many need to go, and so forth. And we'll be talking very tangible things. We'll be talking about how many disputes we are resolving, how many we have resolved. We'll go, and we'll be also be reporting on. We have had some work done in terms of what would you say, the state of intergovernmental relations in different sectors and so on. We have had some work done as IGRTC to say where we are in education, where we are in agriculture, in terms of those relationships and so forth.
Let's take a break on this note, then we continue the conversation. Bwana Kithenji Kirago is the chairman of the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. This is a committee that is established to help steer devolution in the country. 10 years since the first devolved government came into office. How are we doing? Is devolution actually living up to its billing? Is it delivering the promise? Is it serving its purpose? That's what we are asking ourselves this morning. Bwana Kithenji, as we talk about, dispute resolution, there's one big dispute resolution organ that was created by the Constitution as well. It's called the Employment and Labor Relations Court. You know about that. When employers or employees or unions or anybody who's involved in the labor market has an issue, they now don't go to some tribunal within the Ministry of Labor. They now go to a court that has a similar jurisdiction as a High Court, the Employment and Labor Relations Court. They are also 10 years old this year, and they're having a symposium, the Kenyatta International Conference Center, having their annual symposium and exhibition there, and they're telling everybody, please pass by there. And because you are an expert on many issues, you can also pass by there, look at them, and you could pass one or two words of wisdom to them. Employers, employees, unions, and anybody else who's interested in matters of labor and labor relations, please go by KICC. It's starting today and it concludes on the 20th of July. It will be live on TV and live streamed on their website as well.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I have a brother. He was a pilot. He was laid off. He came to a policeman. He messed up.
He went from a pilot to a policeman.
Exactly.
He stole a jet.
Yeah.
In fact, you should be lucky he was not court-martialed.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Indeed, Indeed, it's all about hashtag Spice Drive, hashtag Quatch, KWACH, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And lows of 11. It's sunny at 13 in Nakuru, highs of 26. And we'll see highs of 21 in Nyeri, where it's partly sunny at 13. It's sunny at 13 in Eldoret, highs of 24. And looking into Mombasa, it's sunny at 22 with highs of 28 and lows of 21. 24 will be the low in a sunny Malindi at 25. And at 20, Kisumu is sunny, highs of 30, lows of 19. Malindi is sunny at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 15. Looking into a cloudy Kampala, we'll see highs of 28 and we'll see highs of 30 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 25. It's 6 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 20 and highs of 30 in a partly cloudy Lagos at 25. 23 and partly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
Still a busy morning in terms of traffic. Langata Road is busy, spilling over towards Raila Odinga Way. If you're stuck in that, coming out towards Gong Road at the City Mortuary roundabout. Little bit of traffic here and there. We'll get through it though. It's the hour. 'Tis the time, 'tis the hour. Lunga Road and some traffic coming off Jogo Road. Everybody trying to get into the city centre. It's still pretty heavy on the Thika Superhighway, as at least you're coming by Survey. It's dwindling on Kiambu Road. Hopefully it dwindles to nothing at some point so that traffic can come to an end. Let's know what's going on where you are this morning. We want to keep things moving regardless. And let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life.
And the conversation continues 24 minutes to 9 with Kethenji Kirago, chairman of the IGRTC, tracking devolution for the past 10 years, and also reminding you to walk into Naivas this morning and purchase a tube of Colgate. For every tube of Colgate you purchase, you're basically contributing to 150,000 people having access to clean, safe drinking water. Now you can imagine, I'm sure in some areas of Embu, Bonakirago, there are places where people don't have access to clean drinking water.
True.
And Colgate has basically been working with their partners and identifying some of these areas and going into those communities and saying, how about we sink a well for this community and we operationalize the well so that the people around here can get access to good, clean, safe drinking water and always available. All they ask you to do is buy Colgate at Naivas. It's as simple as that. You like Colgate?
Yes.
It's as simple as that. That's just the conversation that they're having. And they're encouraging everybody to do this and to help them. Now, back to the conversation that we are talking about. Consultation, coordination, cooperation, that is what should happen between those two levels of government.
Right.
And many times we talk about that consultation. Yeah, it happens, it doesn't. For example, it was a long time before a summit was held, and the first summit then that was held the other day in Naivasha came in after a long time. Coordination, cooperation. There are functions that are supposed to be devolved that are yet to be devolved. That's true?
That is true.
How many are these and why are they not devolved?
Well, first let's say that they were not devolved because partly of how we started with the devolution. So, devolution was or could have taken two different paths. One was what we did, big bang, or it could have been gradual. And because we started with a big bang, we started in a situation where this cooperation, consultation, coordination was not taking place. Some things never happened. It also was true that, there were people who are not quite convinced about devolution, and they were they were the ones who are holding the functions and the resources to be done. So we have under that situation for a long time. Things have gone slow, But I would say that, and I think the most significant aspect of this now is that when His Excellency President Ruto came to office on his own inauguration speech, he did commit to transfer all devolved functions to county governments. And that was, for us, we were not going to wait for him to say more than that. So we embarked immediately as IGRTC to put together a program to identify those functions, to get the two levels of government to agree what needs to be done and so forth. And at the moment, we would say that it is now very clearly agreed what is going to move from the national government and its agencies to the county governments. And at the same time, we have also tentatively identified what staff, what financial resources, what facilities need to, assets need to move with those functions. We have a process now by which we represent this to what is the other intergovernmental institution, not created by the Intergovernmental Relations Act, but created by the Public Financial Management Act, the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council. And because what we are doing involves the movement of resources between the two levels of government, we are going to present that report to His Excellency the Deputy President, Gachagua, and who is also the chair of the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, for them to see that we are doing things and we will not disrupt anything and so forth. And also we need the Council of Governors to give it the ultimate, let's say a note, because we have worked with their officers, their chief executive committee members, the Council of Governors, Secretariat itself, but the governors also now need to be taken through it. When we are finished with those two, then we are going to be ready to go to the summit for final ratification, and then the functions will be transferred. Once they are transferred, again, we must say that it is a process. It is not, big bang. At law, we can do it. But, the big bang is fine where things, if the actual people are where you are banging them into.
What functions are these that we need to devolve that would need to take some time?
In the Constitution, there is what is called Schedule 4.
Yeah.
And it gives the county governments 14 functions. So in all those places, generally speaking, something has moved, because under the Big Bang and in subsequent activities, something has moved. It's just that it was never completed. So, if we take health, for example, the county governments have been doing a lot of things, but the county governments also feel that there are many things which, it's not a feeling. It's also the fact that the ministry continued to do some of the functions which should have gone to county governments.
Yes.
So even a function may have been devolved, and most of it might be the national government, might be the county governments, but there's a small element of it which still remains to be moved.
If I can interject there, it's a big element, isn't it? The finances of how a particular department will run is a big deal when it comes to then its operations. If the decision as per where money will go for health, for example, still rests with the national government, how then can devolution really be pursued in the counties? How can the devolution of health really live out if the purse is still being controlled at the national? And I think this is one of the questions that counties continue to ask, that health professionals continue to ask, that if they go to the county for direction, but the overall control still rests in the hands of the national government, how can you truly say that devolution then is playing out with health?
That position is, due respect, not quite correct. What I'm saying is that actually a lot of things, the county governments have done a lot with the resources which have been transferred so far. They have done a lot in the health sector.
Okay, let me ask the question then differently.
Yes.
How does this committee then work to ensure that all that is needed at the county level for some of these functions to take place then, how is that worked out?
Well, what is worked out is that we identify the element or that has not been moved, okay? And if we have identified it, then, for example, maybe elements of inoculation, which need the county government to handle. Then in that case, we identify that particular element of it. Then we see also the resources which the national government, the Ministry of Health has, which need to move to the county government. We identify the staff working at the center who are doing that. We identify the resources in terms of budget, which needs to move with that, and therefore the function will move with the staff, with the resources, with the facilities from the national to the county government. And that's why I said, if, for example, you look at health, again, back to what the first question you asked, there is a lot which county governments have done in health, very much, okay? But there are still quite a significant aspect of it which needs to move to the county government. And with the current spirit between the two levels of government, I think in terms of what His Excellency the President Ruto has indicated and the nature of conversations he has facilitated between himself and the governors, we can say that, you know, if we were at 65%, we will soon be at 95%. Yes. Why would we be left with 5%? Because they are, you know, this is a process. And at the same time, obviously, you don't want to do anything which disrupts everything.
So then let's say, Bwana Kirago, counties have experience, 10 years experience in handling health, 10 years experience in handling agriculture.
Yes.
We can have a big bang and transfer everything on health and agriculture to the counties tomorrow.
No, let me say this. First of all, especially, I mean, and the best example we have for is the National Library Services, which we have, which this year will be now, which have with effect from July, from this month, have been transferred to the county governments. What did that process involve? First of all, you know, we have libraries in some, say that 3 counties, okay? Led by Kenya National Library Services. You hear it is not even in the ministry. It is National Library Services. You want to transfer those to the counties. There is a whole process involved. Identifying getting the 2 levels of government to agree which are the libraries which are going. For example, therefore, the National Library at Upper Hill.
In Milimani.
Does it go to Nairobi, or does it remain a national institution, for example? So you have that whole process of consultation between the 2 levels of government. We agree, but then also you have agreed that we are going to take this to some that the 3 counties. We're going to be sure that they are ready to receive the functions. It also includes, therefore, receiving the staff from those counties. We have also got a budget that they need to transfer of money. Now the annual budget needs to go to the county governments. You know that is a process which involves both the National Library, the National Treasury, and so on. And even after you have agreed that money is going to move, it needs to go through a legislative process to get the Senate and ultimately the National Assembly to agree that, yes, this budget now is going from this year to be moved to the county governments. There is what is called the County Appropriations Act, which therefore has to get that, in this case, the 425 million shillings moved from national government to county government. And it is a process between also the National Treasury and the parliamentary committees. Are we together? And then also the staff. We got to make the staff comfortable that we are moving them to the county governments. And we got to give them, induction, and we have had to do it, to tell them, don't listen to what you hear about county governments. You'll be safe. You will be safe and so forth.
You'll get your salaries on time.
Human beings. So you can see it is a process. It is not a magic bullet activity.
But then, when you say what you're saying,
yes,
I am of the view that there exists a structure, an overarching structure, that will enable this process, you've described it, to move seamlessly, or to move in
an orderly, systematic way.
Yes.
And that is our work.
Yes. Because if we talk about devolution and just the processes of it, the discussion about complete devolution is what I don't understand, because I don't think it is actually possible.
It is not first of all, again, back to what I said, the Constitution realized that, this is about relationships are as important as the actual substance of things, which is why it said there's need for that consultation, that cooperation, that coordination, because you are dealing with the intricate matters. Therefore, and at the same time, Kenya is not a federal system. It is a system in which the two levels of government are actually expected to work well together. Therefore, you can even see situations where even those functions which the county governments did not receive. Yeah, for example, when you see Honorable His Excellency Governor Zakanja trying to do the feeding program for, it is not exactly a devolved function, but or even when the counties are giving bursaries to primary and secondary schools. It's not exactly a devolved function. The point is that, going back to what I said in the beginning, democratic governance, there are things which, as a local leader and with your own government, you cannot ignore your people's right because that this function has been devolved. And in the same situation, we have a presidential leadership system, okay? If a governor is not delivering to the people, unfortunately, His Excellency the President is also accountable for the failure of the governor, in the sense that he don't go to the same person to ask for the food. That is our system of governance, okay?
Yep.
Therefore, if children are not going to school, to pre-primary school in an area, or if people don't have water, although delivery of water is an devolved function, His Excellency the President still remains accountable to the people. Your Excellency, we don't have water. And therefore, you are right that, what is important is for the two levels of government to work together to deliver to the people, especially in those aspects of development and service delivery. There is nothing like an absolute devolution or an absolute situation where one system doesn't need the other. And in the case, furthermore, that the provision of the Constitution is that for everything, for all sectors, policy development is a national function.
Okay.
The overriding registration is that of the national government. Are we together?
Yeah.
Therefore, there is no one who has been given anything absolute in either way. And I would say even for those functions which are not devolved, which is what we are talking about, for example, education and so on, the county governments cannot say it is a function of the national government when things are corrupting, if they see things which are not working well in their own
You'd
counties.
be surprised that they do.
Yeah, precisely.
They do actually say,
Yes.
well, actually, it is not our function, it's a function of the national government,
Yes.
when things like that don't actually happen, which is why one of the original questions was, how then are these county governments working in congruence with the national government when it comes to some of these things? One of the biting issues that comes, obviously, in order for devolution to be operationalized, funding is critical to that.
Correct.
Oftentimes we hear of the delay of funds that, again, still come from the national government in order to make devolution a reality. The delay is a problem. There have been conversations with the deputy president to county governments about wait and see. How, in your opinion, sitting at the helm of this committee which sees the transition, does the tardiness of the release of funds to the counties affect devolution as a function?
Well, it does, obviously, but again, it is not. First of all, let us also be fair to government. I mean, I don't think there is a time when the national government has had resources, at least since I came to this office early last year, and to my observation, and even as a Kenyan, generally speaking, there are two aspects to this. One is, do you have the resources and you are just deliberately refusing to give them to the county governments? I would say no. The only issue which has been asked is whether the county government, disbursements to county governments are given the same priority as the government, national government gives itself the priority. At law, that should not happen. They should be given equal importance. Therefore, it's back to what I said. I think as long as the two levels of governments are not talking properly to each other and they are not consulting, these problems will arise. But if they are in regular consultation, and if there is goodwill on both sides, okay, and for a long time, I would say until, maybe until this financial year or last financial year, there has been that aspect where, the commitment of the national government to devolution has been in question. Okay?
Yep.
And even in the current situation where His Excellency is committed to devolution, there will be elements still in the national government who are not
as committed
as he is to devolution. And in public, in governance, in public sector, there's a lot of the technocrats have also their prey because they are the ones who manage the bureaucracy. So that bureaucracy can also be part of the problem.
When this conversation is had,
yes,
it always dovetails back to the national government,
yes,
and what the national government does. But I think the biggest hindrance to devolution are the governors themselves. And I'm going to explain to you why I think so.
Right.
Because if we have a few governors, as we have seen, who are committed to utilizing whatever monies they have to improving the lot of the citizenry in their counties, if this was what we saw throughout all the counties, or at least the vast majority, which is not the case currently, then even all source revenue would be significant and we would see an upward trajectory. Because if you invest in the county and there's adequate circulation and there's a growth in the economy, that county will have more money. We don't see enough of it. We hear discussions and talk about money, and then the Auditor General hits us every year with all manner of issues that counties have regarding the misappropriation of funds. Now,
let's take the two things together. One is whether how much more resources and how fast can the governors grow their own source revenues.
Yes.
That is the first issue.
Yes.
The second issue is about utilization of resources.
Yes.
So let us handle them separate.
Yes.
And I would say, in terms of growth of revenues, the governors, remember, have the same challenge that the current government is facing.
The national
government is facing now. See, you Kenyans are refusing to pay taxes.
We're not refusing.
When we refuse, you'll know.
Well, but there's resistance. Are we together?
Yes.
So, and it is said there are governors who have actually been very committed to raising revenues, and because of it, they have been removed from office by the voters. Okay, voters have rejected somebody because he has tried to enforce the collection of revenues. Because one of the things which you must not forget is that even at that local level, the businessmen from whom taxes are not going to be found from the peasant farmer who is getting nothing from their coffee or tea or from their sugar cane and whatever. Are we together? All right. So it has to be obtained from the businessmen in the town who are the traders and so on. They are very concerned. They don't want to pay the retro additional revenue that the governor wants. Okay, so it is a big challenge. And as I say, some governors have lost their seats because they have tried to grow their revenue. So it is not as easy, but I'm not saying that there is not more to be done. There's a lot to be done, but it is not as simple and as easy as it can sound.
The resistance is true, Bwana Kiragu, but there is also an issue that was prevalent with the local authorities.
Yes.
And that is what is collected and what is reported as having been collected are two different things.
Now, so that is now, let us go there. First of all, let us therefore agree that is the first. I said let us separate the two issues. That there have been many governors who have wanted to raise revenues, but they have to do it with political sensitivity. And those who have not been politically sensitive, they have lost it. Okay? So it is a real challenge. But the second one, now let us talk about governance, okay? In terms of corruption, integrity, and so forth. And I will say two things. One, there are governors who also went to places where there were no systems. It's also important. Because if you went to a place where there were no systems, and even under their own county government and so on, are we together? You started trying to build systems. But remember, you are building these systems with human beings, Kenyans who you know now. Okay? And I can tell you, as a governor, you can be very easily frustrated even as you are trying to introduce a system. Because if the people you are handling and you have inherited have already have a history and culture of colluding to divert resources, even as a governor, you don't be defeated. Therefore, I would say that we have made progress, even in that respect, in the sense that now many county governments have gone to digital platforms for revenue collection. And there is definitely a strong drive by governors at the moment to improve on source revenue and to improve the integrity and accountability for the resources that are being collected.
We need more time for this conversation, Kethenji. And
Thank you.
We'll welcome you again.
Thank you.
To come and join us.
Thank you.
Kethenji Kirago, the chairman of the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, has been our guest this hour. We've been talking about devolution 10 years on. It's 9:01. The news.
Orengo has asked President William Ruto to stop threatening the opposition and find ways of solving the problems that are affecting Kenyans. Orengo said threats that had been employed by almost all the successive regimes right from independence, but has never solved problems. The governor argued that anti-government demonstrations are no longer about Raila Odinga, but about the hard economic times that Kenyans are going through. Governor Orengo beseeched the president to be human enough and understand that the cost of living has become unbearable to the Kenyan citizens, hence the demonstrations which were witnessed in almost every part of the country last week. Now, a section of elected leaders in Migori County have called on the police to go slow on anti-government protesters. Migori woman Representative Fatuma Mohammed said the police must respect the right of every Kenyan, asserting that demonstrations are provided for in the Kenyan Constitution. The MP said the police officers who are using excessive force on protesters must note that the issues affecting Kenyans are also affecting them and their families. Fatuma called on Migori residents to stand out and push the government to lower the cost of living during the planned Wednesday demonstrations, asserting that the government threats are null. Now, the temporary suspension of operations at the Mlolongo, Syokimau and SGR toll stations along the Nairobi Expressway has been lifted. In a statement, the toll road operator, Moja Expressway Company, urged all motorists using the road to be mindful of the ongoing repair works, recommending a speed limit of 80 kilometers per hour at the selected locations. The sections were closed after rowdy protesters uprooted fences, barricaded and vandalized the road during the anti-government protest, which in turn disrupted traffic on the route. Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, during a subsequent inspection of the road, said the damages incurred could be over 706.7 million shillings. Now, today, Kenya joins other countries in celebrating International Day of Justice. International Justice Day is celebrated over the world. On July 17th, the day is celebrated to highlight the important role of the International Criminal Court and other organizations in providing justice to victims of injustice, including victims of war crimes, genocide, and terrorism. International Justice Day is recognized to highlight serious cases of human rights violations and the role of the ICC in eradicating such cases. In addition, various countries are using the day to promote the rule of law in justice systems such as the judiciary, respect for human rights, and protest against violations of the law. And the Kenyan government has given a guarantee of protection to fishermen in Budalangi and Funyula areas in Busia County after complaining of harassment on Lake Victoria. The government has said that it will ensure that Kenyan fishermen in Lake Victoria are not oppressed by Ugandan security officers who have been harassing and even arresting others. The Water Resources Protection Division of the Kenya Coast Guard has already started training fishermen in the lake to enable them know their rights and the law. The Director General of the Kenya Coast Guard Division, Bruno Shioso, has said that strategies to protect Kenyan fishermen in Lake Victoria have been put in place to protect them from Ugandan Army officers, the UPDF.
Hii maji ni resource, lakini tena mpaka tuendelee tuko na mpaka tena iko na utaratibu yake. So as we do that, what we do is kufanya utikoti diplomacy. The good thing is tangu tuko na Coast Guard tumekuwa na contacts established through Coast Guard directly and then again through the security, local security.
And President Vladimir Putin has warned that Russia has a stockpile of cluster munitions and will consider using them against Ukraine if they are used against Russia. Putin's comments come just days after Ukraine received a delivery of American-made cluster munitions through a top Ukrainian military official said they had not been used yet. Washington's decision to send cluster bombs to Kyiv was controversial and criticized by human rights. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Alceto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, it's thinning out on Joga Road this morning, not as heavy on Landis Road either, but we're still seeing heavy traffic in and outbound on Lunga, and it's going to connect to the Likoni interchange. Enterprise Road also has some traffic as they're trying to come towards Mombasa Road, but, we'll get through that. Whatever was happening on Thika Superhighway is reducing significantly, and we're seeing just some traffic past Survey out towards the Pangani Underpass and some traffic coming in towards Muthaiga Square coming off of Kiambu Road. So we'll keep an eye on that, but not too crazy. James Gishoro did not deliver in terms of drama today, and it was quite manageable as you were trying to get towards Wayaki Way, and if you're still there, you'll see that just a little bit of that is left. On Raila Odinga Way, still heavy as you get towards Gong Road at the junction, and it will likely continue for just a little bit as that morning traffic is coming to an end. Let's circle back in half an hour. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Talk to us there and keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It's 7 minutes after 9. Welcome to the final of The Situation Room this Monday, 17th day of July 2023. Faithless. Episode what is coming out?
Episode 3 is coming out this Thursday. Episode 2, yes.
How do you say 3 in Luo?
A dick.
Ato. Ato.
That's 3. Ato is 3.
Ato.
Yes.
Yeah?
And in Mount Kenya?
Mount Kenya, Idato.
Idato.
In Kajiado, Uni.
Okay.
And Maasai. Nabo, Are, Uni, Ongwan. Imiet, Nabishana, Isyet.
Okay. You just get to
Ile, Naudo, Tomon.
Tomon is 10.
Yes.
Voila. So, the third episode of Faithless makes its debut this Thursday. We want to find out the intrigues of what's happening out with Esther and her friends in terms of what is going to happen. And maybe you're not subscribed to Showmax. All you need to do is get to showmax.com, subscribe, and then sit back and watch. It's riveting. It's very interesting to see 10 episodes of this great production. Let's see what happens this week.
Kabisa. Coming out on Thursday, we have another guest joining us in the studio. Frederick Okango is Secretary Political Affairs and a member of the Azimio Technical Committee. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you so much.
Fred was our first guest in the situation.
I remember. I remember. It has been a while, but I'm here.
It's been a while.
Yes.
That time you were talking about Punguza Msigo.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now you're talking about what?
Right now?
Punda Mechoka.
Still Punguza Mzigo.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's the same
thing. We're talking about, a regime that do not care. We're talking about people that are shooting Kenyans, We're talking about the high cost of living that must go down. Exactly.
That regime that you're talking about against then, the people who are in it then are the ones you're working with now.
Not
okay,
quite
no, it's
true.
okay. We'll have that conversation.
Not quite true.
You wait. City.
Yes.
Why don't you give Mr. Okango today's proverb?
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the country of Guinea. Not Guinea-Bissau, not Equatorial Guinea, not Papua New Guinea.
Guinea.
Not Guinea, the currency. This is the country of Guinea. A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies.
A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies.
Yes.
Frederick, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
Very interesting. But I think when you're incapacitated, either naturally or by accident, there's nothing much you can do to help yourself. And I can relate. I can actually relate. Today, we have a regime that doesn't seem to have a tail. They have no reason chasing flies that are now coming out to pounce on them. Because the flies are so many and they're looking for food. I'm not in any way insinuating that the people are flies, but I'm saying the public have come out to make certain requests. Then they have prolonged it to a demand. And then now they are saying, we would want to see our needs addressed, the concerns. Remember, these are people, Eric, that elected the leadership in office. They elected MCA all the way to a president.
Yes.
But those concerns have not been addressed.
By
the leadership.
By all the leaders they
Exactly.
elected. Okay.
Exactly. And that's why you see for us in Azimio, first of all, allow me to take this opportunity to condemn the violence that we have witnessed. It was unnecessary. It is unnecessary. It should not happen. On Friday, Eric, as talk about flies, I accompanied our deputy coalition leader, Martha Karua, who was here the other time, Kalonzo Musyoka, to Machakos to do a fact-finding mission from Lolongo all the way. And we saw at Shalom young men lying in the morgue with bullet wounds on their heads, chest, back, legs. We walked into 3 wards, Savannah, Shalom, Machakos Hospital. People in numbers lying in beds, shot by the police because they were demonstrating. We are asking ourselves, what happened to the interpretation of Article 37 that provides for peaceful demonstrations?
Yeah.
Our friends have been...
So you went into this area. Now it's actually an interesting one that you've gotten into this. So you actually went into the hospitals. You found those that had been injured and those that had unfortunately been shot dead.
Yes.
Right? Where were they demonstrating? Those that were ended up in those facilities.
What the hospital authorities told us that they were picked on the roadside from Lolongo, some in Machakos town, And some have been identified, some have not been identified. There's a case of even a student who was coming from school and was shot.
Where?
In Mololongo. There was a lady who was coming from work, and in that confrontation was hit by a car. There was a young man who was working in Molongo from Bungoma, was shot in the arm. So you ask yourself, why use excess force to quell violence or to disperse protesters?
Yeah.
But that is not the issue, Eric and Tim. The issue is, why are people demonstrating? Our friends, the other side, are telling us...
Are they your friends, really?
That, yes, they are our friends, because we're all friends in this country.
No, we are not.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Oh, no, we are not.
We are. They are telling us
You
that...
cannot choose his friends, City. If he has
No.
decided
They are his friends too.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a lovely conversation we're having, but you can't begin a statement where by generalizing and saying we are friends, because I would then ask him directly, is that how you treat your friends? Is this how you go about communicating with your friends?
I agree.
Who you claim are your friends?
I agree with you.
Yes.
But remember, even friends differ.
Yes.
And when friends differ, they become enemies. But they can still be friends. What we are hoping for and praying for as a country is we remain friends. And I was just telling you, these demonstrations, Eric, I'm sure you have covered them for quite some time now. But we have never witnessed county-wide demonstrations that we witnessed on Wednesday. Why? They have told us it is Raila Amolo Odinga, our coalition party leader, who is sending people to the streets. It is no longer about Raila Odinga. We saw long-distance drivers, truck drivers. We saw matatu owners. We saw Uber. We saw people demonstrating in Nyeri, Kiambu, Muranga, Homa Bay, Kisumu, Nairobi, Busia. And they have got varied reasons for demonstration. And therefore, we have a public or a sovereign that are just tired and frustrated. The cost of living is high. The leadership is not addressing it. And they are being gagged. So they are saying, what is the next option? The next option is to exercise their sovereignty and go through the constitution, legal means to express themselves. They have told us they are limiting it. You know, to demonstrate is a Bill of Rights, Eric. And this Bill of Rights can only be limited when there's justifiable reasons. Their reason is because Raila Odinga has called it. Not even because there are people causing mayhem and criminals. They're using tear gas. In that confusion, criminals invade peaceful protest and cause violence. We want to ask the police, deal with the criminals. Don't deal with peaceful demonstrators, because the peaceful demonstrators have got nothing to do with the looting.
Fred, can I ask you? You've said that previously folks had said that it was Raila Odinga then who was insisting on these demonstrations, and that we've seen last week that people are coming out around the country without being, essentially asked to do so. If that was the case, would we not see these sporadic demonstrations without a call for a particular day? Would a day need to be given for people to come out? If what you're saying is the case, then people would be coming out on a Monday or on a Saturday without being told that it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
It's only that they escalate on the days that have been called for. But ordinarily, other days, they're demos. And a demo doesn't mean going to the street to just make noise and shout. You can sit in your house and decide today, I'll demonstrate. You can sit on the street and decide today, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'll sit here till evening until I'm heard. Those are happening. So the ones that we have been focusing on, or the media has been focusing on, are the major ones that we have seen when there's now convergence, when now the politicians call people out, and then people take advantage and say, okay, fine, they're there's a strength in numbers. Let's join all together, the civil society, the politicians, the public. Those are ones that now people are seeing. But I've seen instances the other time, before even Wednesday, there were people who were demonstrating on certain issues of water in Kiambu. There are people who are demonstrating on issues of bad roads in Mbakasi East and Isili. We have seen that. Why is it that the leadership is not listening? They're not listening because they are confusing cosmetic and artificial majority in parliament for legitimacy. And I want to remind some of them, there used to be a very powerful king in the book of Daniel called Belshazzar. If you remember, Belshazzar did not listen. Then a writing came on the wall, Mene Mene Tekel. Today we are seeing a writing on the wall when the people are saying enough is enough.
Are the people saying this?
Yes, right. They are.
Is Azimio in charge or in control of the demonstrations? Was Azimio in control of the demonstrations on Friday?
Not anymore.
Who took control of the demonstrations?
Not anymore. Azimio raised issues of concern. They said the cost of living must go down. They said we must respect multi-party democracy. They said we must look into the electoral injustice in this country. Then the people came out and said, for sure, if the finance bill was forced into an act and passed through parliament, and there was admission by the members of Kenya Kwanza that they bought people through soup and money, then for sure, it was forced down our throats, and so that
Azimio is not in charge.
Azimio
is not in charge of its members in parliament. Azimio is not in charge of the demonstration.
Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. Azimio is in charge of its activity, its support base, and its members. But they're not in charge of the widespread demonstrations that we're now seeing in the country from even Kenya Kwanza assumed zones.
How can we say so?
We can say so because we have seen where people come out to demonstrate, not because of the issues that Azimio has raised, but because of other issues like drivers being forced to go back for testing. That was not an issue of Azimio. Like water towers that are being mismanaged in those other parts of the county. That is not Azimio. Like bad roads in Isili. That is not Azimio. Azimio is just part of the public that has raised concern. And you know, the good news is that majority of the issues that, in fact, all the issues that Azimio has raised are affecting every other person who has other reasons to demonstrate. So the reason why I'm saying Azimio is not in control, because there is this narrative that Azimio is sponsoring demos. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, led by Raila Amolo Odinga, is not sponsoring any violence. Our coalition chairman, President Uhuru Kenyatta, is not sponsoring any violence. And therefore, it should be known that the violence that we have witnessed, those were criminals that invaded peaceful protest. And they should be dealt with as criminals. They should leave alone the peaceful demonstrators who have shown that they have got something worth being listened to.
I hear you. Let me ask the question again so we can then go step by step. So Azimio calls a demo and states a date for the demo. Sabasaba calls another one and says it's going to be on this day, on the 5th, on Wednesday. There's no demonstration today. There's no demonstration that's been called by any grouping tomorrow.
I'm not sure if there's none. There could be. We never know.
We have not heard of any. But on Wednesday, Azimio has called for a demonstration. If that demonstration ends up with the first thing that you see is people pouring onto a road and demolishing the road, would you say that Azimio is in control of the demonstration that it calls, or is it not in control of the demonstration?
First thing first, Eric. Who are these people destroying the roads? Who are they? Isn't it not the work of the police to protect property and life?
That is true.
Where are the police when they're doing this?
You want them not to come?
I am asking, when people call for peaceful demo, as stipulated in the provision of 37, and they go out, some of them join in destruction of property, while the police are mandated to protect that, and the police are witnessing. How come what happened in Molongo, there were no cops on site to stop that, while there were cops on site somewhere else to stop other things?
Where?
Was there any destruction in Kisumu? Was there any destruction in Mombasa? Was there any destruction in Busia? They were violent, but were there destruction of road? No. Because the cops were there to stop any element of criminality. In this one, we are asking questions. And for sure, if these criminals were there, then now the police must have apprehended them and charged them in court. Because we abhor violence as Azimio. Our leader, Raila Odinga, has told us, we must not participate in any violent action that is going to put this country down. We are not going to do that.
So
we are not interested in that. We don't know them. The police should tell us. The intelligence officer should tell us. We don't know them. They have said they know them. Take them to court. Don't kill them. You know, we are asking.
Were you aware that there was a demonstration that was going to take place in Mlolongo? As the leadership of Azimio that had organized the rally, the demonstrations.
I'll tell you.
You were aware of Meru. You were aware of Nairobi into Kamukunji. You were aware of these other areas, Kisumu and all. Were you aware of Mlolongo?
Eric, what happened in Mlolongo, first of all, should not happen and should never have happened because it's unfortunate. And I can tell you, Azimio supporters and members and leadership live in this country. This is our country. We know that when we lose this country, we have no other country. We cannot in any way promote violence that is going to take us out of our country. We cannot. And therefore, what I'm trying to say, what happened in what happened in Mlolongo is not Azimio. Those are not our people. Those are criminals. Our people have always demonstrated peacefully. And you know, you start peacefully, then you see a tear gas creating confusion, then criminal elements join in, so you don't know who is who. And that's why we are asking. We know where our leaders are coming from, and we know where they are. And we are holding them responsible for any action they take. The leadership that was in part of Ukambani, Mavoko, has told us they were not part of any uprooting of the road, whatever that was there. They are not part of it.
You know, the problem with the deniability in a case like ours is that both sides take a position and both sides either lay blame or cast blame or apportion blame and then also deny and say it wasn't us. But what you're right about, the function and duty of the government is actually to ensure that there is peace and order during such demonstrations. That is absolutely correct. But the question I would like to ask is, again, I remember there was a demonstration not too long ago, a couple of months ago in the middle of town, and the police did provide protection. There was no tear gas lobbied, and it was brief. People demonstrated, and it came to an end. Now, the question I want to ask is, as Azimio, when you plan your rallies, I would assume you understand how the police will respond, the police service will respond. What actions do you lay in place to ensure that even when the police respond in the manner that you've described, you are able to contain the processes that you've set forth?
You know, Sitting, the Public Order Act requires that the planners and the organizers of any peaceful demonstration notify the police within certain time.
Notify, not seek permission.
Notify.
Yes.
The Constitution has already permitted any person, including yourself today, if you want to go and demonstrate out there, you will go. So you just notify the police. That is what Azimio has done. And you saw our leaders in every part where we notified the police. Now, when people come out and conduct elements of criminality, and it is blamed on the organizers of the event, they are forgetting that it is not only Azimio that called for peaceful demonstrations. In fact, the wording in the Constitution is peaceable. There were other sectors that were demonstrating that time. But that's not the issue. You have said there was a demo in town that was peaceful. And nothing happened. There was no looting.
No.
I concur, there was, I've seen it. In fact, myself, I accompanied Raila Odinga one day into the CBD. We were in a matatu, got into CBD, talked to the crowd. There was no looting, no police shooting. They were just there, escorting the people. Why is it that on Wednesday, such a thing did not happen countrywide? You know why? Because the public were infiltrated by criminals that the police ought to have stopped. Are you going to number your demonstrators, giving the number 1, number 2, number 3 to 1 million to identify them? Are you going to give them uniforms? Are you going to put them in a corner and say this is not? That's the question we are asking. And therefore, we are saying we don't want any form of violence. We don't want it. It is going to take us down. Look at Sondu. What happened? Ethnic violence that we witnessed. People were shot at with an arrow, bow and arrow. I've just told you there are guns that were used to kill several people in Mlolongo and Machakos. People died. Our leader gave a statement the other day, and he said it appears there's an OSU, Operation Support Unit, that is being used.
Who are OSU?
I don't know them.
What does it mean?
It means Operation Support Unit.
What does that mean?
A police force.
Yeah, what do they do?
In place that is being used to quell some of this violence. And in the process, we have seen people die.
Set up specifically for this, or they're in normal operation?
Why would they be called support units? Do we have violence normally? Do we have demos normally? It appears they are supporting something in our interpretation. So what we are saying is, as it is now, things are going left, or we can say south. Very dangerous. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the Kenya Kwanza regime say that they have mobilized their members of parliament to go to their constituencies and use the public to protect property and life. While at the same time, there are demos that have been called for on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Do you know what that means? It actually means there's going to be dangerous confrontation.
But why?
That's the question we're asking. Why would that happen?
Why would there be dangerous confrontation?
There's going to be dangerous confrontation because these are two opposing sides.
No, there are two peaceful sides. If there's no violence,
sides, two peaceful sides.
Told us.
No.
One side is there to protect what?
If you're protecting your property and nobody attacks it,
there'll be no violence.
Why would you have an issue?
If this other side is also coming peaceably, like you said, why would there be confrontation? Okay, you are coming out, you are demonstrating, you're not destroying or demolishing any property.
Now,
then the other side has nothing to
react to. Let me bring
to.
you up to speed so that you understand.
Yes.
I know you are an avid user of social media. One of the leaders from that side put on his Twitter handle that on Wednesday, they'll be accompanied by 2,846 people to Transmara, Kiambu, Nairobi, and all other places. Okay?
Yeah.
The other one, which was a state officer, said that they are looking at sniper. Then the other one also said, who is a state officer too, said that there's a reward of 50 million, which he lowered yesterday evening to 10 million. These are things that should scare any patriotic Kenyan. That means that when these demos happen, then they will try and stop them. That is not peaceful. That should scare you, Eric. It is not. When you talk about a sniper does not come to give you coffee and bread. A sniper does not come to shake your hands. 2,846 people do not come.
When someone writes on their Twitter, sniper?
In what context?
Exactly.
In what context?
Exactly.
At a time when people are demonstrating.
Do you understand?
And they're referring to Wednesday. What is happening on Wednesday?
How do you know they're referring to Wednesday?
Because they indicated. Look at it. It is there.
It just says sniper.
Oh, Eric.
This is Senator Cherargei's tweet we are talking about.
Eric,
It just says sniper.
Okay.
It's like someone saying risasi ni moja.
Okay. Eric, I don't want to dwell so much on this because there are so many issues that Kenyans want to listen to of importance. But I want to say it is unnecessary for state officer to do that. Let me tell you, a state officer, whether you are a member of parliament, a cabinet secretary, or you are in any office paid by taxpayers, you have given and been assigned that authority by public as a trust, and you must exercise it in a certain manner that brings honor to the office that you hold and integrity to that office, and also respect the people. When you tell us that there's a reward of 50 million, why don't you be complete and tell us this is going to do this? When you tell us...
What's the 50 million for?
I don't know. You should tell us. So we are left guessing and speculating. We don't want to speculate. At a time when people are saying, do away with this, Raila, do away with this, we must talk and talk the truth. Our truth is we have been organizing peaceful demos which have been invaded by criminals. The police should deal with the criminals because the police have got that mandate.
Okay. Should police arrest anybody? In
Police,
demonstrations?
Eric, police only arrest suspects.
Okay. When police arrest suspects, why do your leaders demand their release?
You know, when suspects are arrested, they are presented before a court of law. All the suspects that were arrested out of demo, those charges were dropped. I'm sure you're aware.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the Constitution protects them in a peaceful demonstration.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's why the judges, the magistrate dropped those charges.
Okay.
And therefore, we expect that if there are criminals that are not protesters,
they should be arrested.
They should be arrested.
Okay.
They should.
And Azimio should wait until they are taken to court and discharged dutifully by the court before they demand the release of anybody who is arrested during a demonstration.
We have not demanded for release of any other person, not just any other person, because we also know the people who have been identified as peaceful demonstrators and were arrested wrongfully. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that we have said, for sure, these were not criminals. And the court has granted them that opportunity to be released, and they have been released.
Okay, let's take a break. Frederick Okango is a Secretary of Political Affairs and a member of the Azimio Technical Committee. We are asking this morning, what is the Maandamano message from Azimio? What exactly is it that the message is? And as we do this, Boma Yangu, this is the government's initiative for affordable housing, and there's a platform called Boma Yangu. Just go to www.bomayangu.go.ke and register. Or you can register simply, just grab your mobile phone, dial star 832 hash. That's star 832 hash. You register into Boma Yangu, you start saving, and when your savings get to at least 12.5%, then you start becoming eligible for the affordable housing units.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's that time again when we get to gather around and marvel at the great engineering, raw power, finesse, and sharing our round motor love for motoring at the annual Digger Motor Show 2023. From car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance, as well as asset financiers and more, this year's Digger Motor Show will be one for the books. We're talking a whole 4-day event from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd at KICC Grounds, Nairobi, where we will have something for everyone, so you better not miss out. Get the family, bring your friends, and share in the joys that will give you lasting memories and an experience you're bound to not forget. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723-803601 or email sinyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
Hey, you're good? It's been a minute. I don't see you at the apartments these days.
I'm good when I moved.
Ah, better job, a better pay, more rent, huh?
Wapi Omera, call me homeowner.
Yeah, right. What are you talking about?
Listen, I was tired of paying rent. So, I remember I always told you, I need my own place.
Where? See, you must be earning a pretty penny to have bought a house or even be paying a mortgage.
No. I got on to Boma Yangu. It's a government-owned project for affordable housing.
Now, what is that?
Live the dream, owning your home. Log on to www.bomayangu.co.ke or dial *832# or walk into any Huduma Center countrywide and start your journey towards home ownership today. You have been saving and are now seeking a safe and secure investment for a profitable return. For an investment that is cushioned from inflation, call 0719-034-550. With a deposit of as little as 250,000, you can now start collecting rental income from your unit at Elmer Estate in Kasarani by Centum Real Estate.
Take the money. Who's gonna know? Paint won't rest until he finds you. You could run and go far away. Think about your role in the church. No one will know. It'll be your own secret. I am warning you.
4 church members pray for their crimes when they're drawn into a life of sin and violence. In the
Cloudy
new
conditions
show
in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 11. 12 will be the low in a mostly sunny Nakuru at 13. It's 13 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 21. 24 will be the high through Monday, mostly sunny at 13 in Eldoret. It's partly sunny at 22 in Mombasa, highs of 28. We'll see the same thing in a sunny Malindi. It's 20 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30 and 17, and mostly sunny in Kakamega. We'll see highs of 28. Looking into Kampala, highs of 27. 29 will be the high in a partly sunny Dar es Salaam at 25. It's 6 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 20. And at 30, that'll be high in Lagos on Monday. 23 and partly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 33 and lows of 21. Monday sunny in Beijing, highs of 35 and lows of 24. It's partly sunny at 14 in Paris, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 22 in a mostly cloudy London at 14. It's clear at 24 in New York, still Sunday night. Coming into Monday, highs of 32 and lows of 23.
You have been saving and are now seeking a safe and secure investment for a profitable return. For an investment that is cushioned from inflation, call 0740-400-215. You can now start collecting rental income from your unit at 1255 Palm Ridge in Kilifi by Vipingo Development. When the engine revs, will you be ready to get all that petrolhead enthusiasm at this year's annual Digger Motor Show? Well, you better belt up and make your way to KICC from the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 for a wholesome 4-day event. Come and join car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance as well as asset financiers, and more for what will be an unforgettable experience by far. We are going all out to make it a great show for you and the whole family with something for everyone. So, you better not miss out. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723-803601 or email cnyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
Still a little bit busy here and there in the city. We're seeing Joko Road at the Makadara train station. Still a little bit of a hold up there. Uhuru Highway probably get the most of it when you get past the junction coming in from the Nyayo Stadium. On the Thika Superhighway, much better now. You'll be fine getting into the city. All of that seems to have cleared off, and a little bit of traffic still left on James Gishuru going towards Waiaki Way. Apart from that, we should be fine. Monday morning was eventful, but at least it's off the radar for now. Keep an eye on it through the morning. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. tonight. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Kango, who is one of the Azimio top leaders, member of the technical committee and secretary of political affairs. What is the message that you're passing with the Maandamano? Is it the same 4 issues? Stop invading our ranks in parliament, allow us to elect members of the selection panel for IEBC, open the servers, and then maybe, or if you are lucky, you reduce the cost of unga?
Our message has not changed, and is not going to change unless something new happens. Because we have said before, the issue of cost of living is affecting everyone, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. And therefore, we have said we must go into interim measures that will lower this cost of living on the short term, mid-term, and long term. They have told us they are only interested in the long term. They are saying they are going to subsidize production. But they're forgetting to subsidize production, it will take a long time. When you are hungry and you want food, you cannot say, I want food now, I'm hungry, but I'll eat next week. You must eat now. We have said the issue of multi-party democracy, where they are deliberately using state institutions to invade Azimio constituent parties, like Jubilee, that is still on the table. We have said we must address the issue of electoral injustice, that every 5 years after election, people must fight, must go and confront each other. I lost, I won, you lose. That one must be addressed. Where the commission must be looked into, and we look at the IBC as a whole. We have also said we would want to see a situation where this country is not a company anymore, but remains a republic. They have told us this is a company with shares. And some of us don't have shares. Look at the appointments.
That changed. The president, it was mentioned by Aaron Cheriot when they were in Homa Bay, that those Homa Bay people have shares.
You see, no. Let me tell you, I'd rather the people of Homa Bay don't have shares, but they consider themselves in a Republic of Kenya, where they enjoy the benefit of development as provided for in the law. You don't need to be in shareholding
Frederick,
so that you get.
I was being facetious. You know,
I know that city.
There's something I want to ask. The demands that Azimio has made are clear because they've been repeated again and again. If they were met, what would they look like? Just categorize them. Cost of living. If the government met that particular demand, what would it look like? If the government met the demand for electoral injustice, what would that look like? If the government met everything that Azimio has asked for, what would we see? And at what point would we say, yes, the government has actually met these demands?
First of all, let me start from cost of living. If they were to meet it and how it would look like.
Yes.
Remember, when we started saying this, they had not passed the finance bill into an act. Today we have an act. The first thing that the Kenya Kwanza regime should do is to repeal the Finance Act 2023. Withdraw it in entirety. So that we look at tax measures that are going to cushion the people of Kenya and not tax measures that are oppressive and dignified. And are not dignifying the lives of Kenyans.
Excuse me, teacher. Muko na idea what those measures would be?
Yes, we do. And we have tabled them. We have talked about subsidies in the short term. We have talked about expanding the tax base and avoiding overtaxation. We have talked about doing away with this issue of invading civil servants' payslips, increasing payee, increasing NHIF, NSSF, levy, housing.
Are those contained in a document that says amend this and that so that you can expand the tax base?
When you watch the
amend
debate,
this and
yes,
the other, so
and when you watch the debate in Parliament, you saw Mbadi proposed amendments. Honorable Mbui proposed amendment. Our members in the floor proposed amendment, but because there's a cosmetic majority, they overruled. We are saying we have done
if it was
everything
cosmetic,
possible.
how did they overrule?
You can use cosmetic numbers irresponsibly, and you do that. It's possible. It's possible. So the other issue of multi-party democracy, how would it look like? Number one, we are a multi-party democracy.
Right.
When you have a member of another coalition joining another coalition and still insisting that he must be in a leadership of the former coalition, what are you saying? You are killing democracy. And the law is clear on who to become a member of what. You are a member of one party, you cannot be a member of two parties. You will be deemed to have resigned. They don't want to resign. And the issue of electoral reforms, how would it look like? We have said electoral reforms in this country are important to give the public confidence in elections. Today, we are coming from an election that we don't even believe in the commission. And you're telling us you want to reconstitute it, then you push the cosmetic numbers, amend the Electoral Act, and now put a panel that is pro-you. What are you telling us? It must be the people.
Why are your members so easily swayed?
Why is Kenya Kwanza swaying our members?
Well, it's politics. Why are your members so easily swayed?
It's also politics.
Why can't they, if your coalition really stood for something and has proper leadership, then they would be, coming towards that leadership?
Eric, you cannot doubt the leadership of Azimio because we have stood for something and we have been very consistent.
Well,
what is happening?
Your leadership is not just the top. Your leadership,
I know, even in parliament,
even the elected members
at the MCA level,
are leaders.
I know that.
So
you cannot
why
doubt
are they
that.
so
You
easily
cannot doubt
swayed?
that. The reason why you cannot
there
doubt
are those
that
that have gone. There are those that you've repeated here today. Their claims by Azimio leadership that they bought them. So
it's
they
not a
can
claim.
Be away from.
It's not a claim.
So it's true.
It's not a claim. It is true they bought
So
them.
why are people who were vetted by your political parties, by ODM, by Jubilee, and given the ticket after being vetted? Why would they be so easily swayed?
Because
barely a year into office.
Because the reason why that is happening, because somebody is trying to legitimize themselves. And when you're trying to legitimize yourself, you consolidate power through all means. Unfortunately, some of our members fell on that trap. And the public know that because these people were elected on the ideology of Azimio or Azimio constituent party, they don't stand for them. Some of them have told us they're going to State House to look for development. In access to services, Eric, the law says that the state organs shall ensure adequate provision of services to the extent that is possible in all over the republic.
Okay.
They don't say you will go to State House to get it. In any case, every Kenyan has a right to access to that service. You don't need to relate in any way with the president. You can go to President's State House and take tea and mandazi and go home.
So
there's nothing wrong with that.
You disagree with one leader, with the leaders who have, out of their own volition, decided to vote a certain way.
I disagree.
And yours is democracy.
I disagree with any leader who has voted against the wishes of the people. The wishes of the people were such that they don't want a housing levy. They want food. The wishes of the people were such that they don't want incremental in taxes. They want it lowered. The wishes of people, Eric, were such that they want a stable country where there are no many taxes and they can do business in a fair environment. Those wishes were thwarted down by a section of members of Parliament. Those are the people I disagree with.
All right.
Any leader who voted no on those proposals, I agree with him because the law says that the member of Parliament shall address issues of concern to the people. The concern now is high cost of living that has culminated to so many issues. Yes.
All right. All of this has culminated in the demonstrations,
Yes.
whether we want to admit it or not.
Yes.
That all of this debate has said, well, if you're not going to listen to us on the House of Parliament, if you're not going to listen to us in terms of what we've been saying in the public arena, then what we're going to do is that we will demonstrate, we will lobby, we will picket until you hear us. In relation to kind of what CT asked later, at what point then does this diffuse? At what point does it then release? What would be one thing that would happen for us to say, okay, at least we're at a place now where the communication is clear, and beyond the clear communication, something is being done about it. You know why, Fred? Because people are looking at Wednesday or any other day when demonstrations are called with anxiety.
Trepidation.
They're afraid.
There's a lot of tension.
Oh, yes.
I will give you an example of people here in this office on Wednesday who couldn't get home for hours, who were afraid to even leave. People almost came to physical bodily harm. That is the real situation.
Yeah.
Forget about the pontification that is happening between one side and another. Let's look at the situation on the ground.
Our producer,
For whom
Ednah, was hit
hit
with a
in her
stone.
glasses, her stone. One glass came
Not
out.
held by the police.
Right? So this is my question. There are two sides that are talking to each other at this level. Everybody's talking about the people. Let me tell you, the people thinking about Wednesday are scared. The people who will go to jobs where they will be paid a daily rate, they will close their businesses on Friday, those people will not work. They will not earn. And the result of that, they will not feed their families. The people for whom are being fought for then are going to wake up on Wednesday morning with uncertainty in terms of what is going to happen. The people will be worried about whether they will send their children to school on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because when they did last week, Wednesday, some children returned dead. Now, that's the people. My question is, and unfair to ask you what the other side will do, but fair to ask you since you're in the room here today, what would need to happen for such a situation that I have described to cease to exist?
Thank you. We had hoped, as the public and members of Azimio, that Kenya Kwanza regime would have listened. On 2nd April, Honorable William Ruto announced to the public that he has listened to what Raila Odinga and team are raising, and there are fundamental issues that require solutions, and he was willing to address those issues together with Raila Odinga through a bipartisan talk. We went to bipartisan talk to address some of these issues, and one of the conditions that each team gave each other was to put interim measures. Interim measure number one on our side, cease all mandamano. Interim measure on their side, cease invading political parties in Azimio. The other interim measure on our side that we gave them, cease the recruitment, the one-sided recruitment of IBC commissioners. All these things were to be put on pen and paper, and then we move forward. You know what happened? The letters were drafted, they never signed. Number two, what should happen now so that we don't witness what we witnessed on Wednesday? That requires leadership from both ends. Raila Odinga has demonstrated leadership, and he has said, I have seen what is happening to the people of Kenya. I have seen them being killed by a unit. I have seen how these people are now scaremongering, scapegoating about Uhuru Kenyatta, fearmongering, and using propaganda machinery to scare the people of Kenya not to get their voices heard. Please, don't do it. Listen to them so that we address these issues. What have they told us? They are going to counter the demos from their constituencies, and that should not happen. They're going to arrest Raila Amolo Odinga. They're going to do... That is not how you solve problems. We have a situation and must be addressed. It requires for leadership from both sides. We are asking them. They should show magnanimity, as we have shown. They should come to the table and listen to the public. They should not even listen to Raila Odinga if they don't like Raila Odinga. Listen to Mama Mboga in Gorogocho, who is saying, my kids slept without food for the last 5 days, and they're now going to school with an empty stomach and no school fee. They should listen to Boda Boda, who is saying, I'm now paying 200 shillings a litre for petrol that, in my view, I should pay 70. They should listen to that person in Homa Bay, Kasipul Kabondo, where I come from, that is saying, you promised that when you get into power, 70 shillings of unga, 2 packet, and now it is 250 or 200. That is what they should do. If they just attempt to listen, I can tell you, these public that are annoyed now, they say, okay, fine, they are listening. Yeah. What do we do?
You know something? I asked you a question of her. I said, all these things that you're hearing, what does it tell you? Historically, I go back to 1991, 4th December, Moi Kasarani, Kanu delegates meeting, and the crucial issue, we're talking about multipartism, we're a single party state then. The cacophony everyone who stood up, man, there is nothing they didn't say. And they were all against. They said never, nini, what, he, who. Everyone said everything they could possibly say against multipartyism and what, and Moi being whatever. And then the president stood up and said, actually, folks, I've listened to you, but I think we should allow multipartyism. The thing that I found interesting was the change. The very same people who had been saying, we don't want, immediately the president said, we are going to have it. That is what we wanted. In fact, multipartyism is I thought, my goodness, am I hearing this right? Then, we had a bit of a problem in 2007, 2008. Before Kofi Annan came, other people came in and said what they wanted to say. Ramaphosa, they said, go away, that is Raila's friend, we don't want such nonsense. Okay, they brought the Ghanaian had credentials. He had been in prison for some 6 months.
He was the AU chairman.
Yes, he had credentials. So, this prison thing and detention, he had creds. The noises that were made, Martha was on one side, Ruto. They were the people who were protagonists, head to head. A middle ground was found. Uhuru Kenyatta, before this so-called handshake that we keep speaking of, there's nothing Uhuru Kenyatta did not say about Raila Odinga. There's nothing he didn't say.
That's true.
Right now, there are people who, there's nothing they're not saying. We'll protect, we will, and we will, What does it tell you is happening?
What does it say?
I wouldn't want to say what is happening.
Let's end it on that note.
But I would want to say what should happen. We should have one country that is hopeful every day we wake up. We should have one country that the leaders see the need to address the concerns of the public.
All leaders.
All.
Exactly. And also we should have a country that does not use propaganda machinery to scare its citizens.
Frederick, thank you for joining us. Frederick Okango is the Secretary of Political Affairs and member of the Azimio Technical Committee. Thank you for tuning in to The Biggest Conversation. See you again tomorrow.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The Permanent Mission of Kenya has responded to the United Nations and other international organizations in Geneva of a statement issued by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights on the anti